Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an Object Show fan that has barely watched any Object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catchup, the series where we discuss Object Show episodes right after watching them. Whether they are new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, today is the day where we take a look at MCS or My Cool Show. At least I hope today is the day. I hope I don't have to separate this into 2 days. It doesn't have too many episodes, but I'm busy. So this is the 5th season and our final section of the road to MCS. We have reached MTS. Now we just got to get to the main plaza itself. And of course, it's been a long journey to reach the 5th season of Battle of Idiots, which is, of course, none other than MCS. But where were we in the lore? So remember, back at the ending of BF Boy, we split from BF Boy to make Boyb, which it was Fish's show from the people who held back, or who stayed with Fish, and we watched that in its entirety. And then, I think, what were they called? They were like a bot. It was a bot basically. With this box bot, yeah, box bot alongside Adobe hosting MCS instead, with all of the people who were tired of Fish and decided to switch over alongside, I think, some debutantes. So yeah, it was it was very much so inspired by the BFB split. But how does MCS fare? It of course has had less episodes, but more time in the oven. We have to start with episode 1, released 2 years ago. Windows to the Soul and Competitive Spirit. Let's watch it. Let's talk about it. Let's finally close off probably the second to last LeoFriends catch up that we'll be doing, because there's still OTA. But oh well. Alright, so that is the first episode of MCS, the big old series, the big old season 5 of the Boy universe, starting ourselves off 2 years ago. Now, it is quite interesting. By the way, I'm immediately going to say it so I forget. Single Elam is very interesting. I'm going to be honest, I'll be surprised if they keep up the single Elam today. Like, I'm just expecting it to be double Elam today. But, anyways. We start off here with, a little bit of our chit chat between everybody at the ship. Because, okay, just as a quick reminder, they went out of the grasslands on a flying ship. Why? Because Fish kicked them out. Fish is like, yo, okay, you can go take my contestants because they want to go to you, right? However, I'm keeping my thing. Okay, I'm keeping my land. I'm not moving. It's like, okay, fine, we'll move. So the ship is currently flying over there, and for the meanwhile, everybody is kind of just chilling, talking, doing whatever the hell. So we are chatting. We keep having a bunch of characters reject a Winner on principle because Winner, has that negative emotional aura from the other time that's going to continue affecting them. Again, apparently it doesn't affect the character that has built a connection with Winner. So for example, Pants is going to be best buddies with Winner, right? But other characters are going to be struggling with this. In the meantime, we have also Glasses, which is one of the, I guess, important characters in this episode. They don't care, like, one bit. They are the firmest I don't care character of all time. They're just gonna sit there, be like, yo, I mean, like, we're not gonna win, so it don't matter. I mean, I'll let you guys do it. So that guy's bailing, and then we officially have ourselves some rejoin. All right, so what is our rejoin now? Let's start off here with the not the region, sorry, the debutants, right? 1,630 votes. I think this was the same as BF Boy. No, was it? No, it probably wasn't. No, because it's a different episode. But oh well. We end up having a couple of fellas. You get a cupcake if you lose, and then you, of course, join if you joined. We end up having ourselves the joiner be none other than your mom, which with 411 votes. I think over double, yeah, no, not double, but nearly double of second place, like 150 more. Which, yeah, I mean that makes sense. Despite not being one of the first fellas in the voting screen, it's absolutely just a cool idea, because like you can check the credits. It says Leo's mom voices your mom, which is fun. It's just a fun concept. It's like, oh yeah, let's get that character in the show. Like, well, that's all cool. And Diamond Jr. also would have, I guess, been an interesting pick. But yeah, your mom absolutely is one of the most interesting characters that you could have up for the debut right now. So good job to her for joining. She will have to say lines now. But we end up going into the competition. To be fair to Leo's mom, is a pretty solid voice actor. We're acting. It's like a relatively chiller voice, but it's like it's got some emphasis on it. It's got some oomph. We can we're doing pretty solid, all right, on that front. So that's like good stuff. And then we officially reach ourselves into the mainland, the main grounds where the show has currently been held. First, we have ourselves an intro. What I think of this intro, it's fine. It's very. Dude, there was like the like renovated intro for like a BF boy, right? For like 14, kind of gives off this a similar vibe. The boy intro really does it. It's much calmer the intro for a show like Boib, like it just physically takes up more time, and it's of course more it's in the style, of course, characters interacting with characters, right? Thing happens and then transitions from character to character. The music doesn't quite go as hard as the Boib intro, I'm not gonna lie, but in general, it's a little bit more relaxed and it's all right. So how long does that intro last? Because I'm actually curious. 6:05. It's roughly it's like a 20-second-ish intro, but like 30 seconds with the fat it plays for the first time. So yeah, and then the ship lands. So the ship lands. We are officially now on the red lush fields. Very orange landscape. But you know what? I don't know what it is about the color orange, but it just kind of works. When it comes to like having a ground and aesthetic, orange is like kind of that nice color. It's not too bright, but it's still pretty. It's relatively luscious, right? So it ends up working itself out quite nicely, to be honest. So yeah, it's cool, it's enjoyable, it's fun, and yeah. Then where did the rejects even go? I don't think we ever get to see what's going on. We have to see Diamond D, who's completely phased out. Do you remember what happened to Diamond D? It's been a while since I watched BF Boy. Wow, it's been a while, man. It's been like 2 weeks. What have I mean, it's not a very long time, but considering, I watch stuff daily that like refreshes my memory every time. So now I have to remember what happened to Diamond D. Oh god. Somebody got eliminated? Somebody switch? No. Was somebody it was probably somebody in Boy 14, but I can't exactly tell you right now. Bro, what was it, man? I don't freaking know. What the hell? Why do I not have this knowledge? I should have this knowledge, but I don't have this knowledge. Nah, I'm whatever. We have ourselves uh the team forming. No limit on teams sizes or whatever. You just need the teams to not be overwhelmingly large, right? But form your teams and then we sort it out, which is pretty nice. And the contestants are all relatively solid at playing along, right? Because it's like at a certain point, right, when you have a host that just tells you to do things, but like it's relatively nice about it. It's like, yo, I understand if you're like, if you've got a contrasting opinion, if you got a contrasting this, that, or whatever, right? But like we have in general a relatively nice situation here, where it's like, yo, if you just tell us to do everything nicely, and we're all fighting for it to be in your competition anyways, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, sure, it's all pretty valid. So we end up forming our teams. We end up having teams of four be formed. People just end up forming teams of four, except for a couple of teams that end up with 3, 1, and 2, respectively, right? So then we have ourselves a little bit of a readjustment. For example, Glasses ends up going on the team with with three, because Army and Battles don't want them on their team, which is interesting. So like, there's a situation with having glasses on your team or not that you can decide. It's an interesting decision, because if you have glasses on your team or they don't try, you could both consider that a positive and a negative, right? Because first of all, numbers are good. Why? Because you can be up for elimination, right? It's that type of thing where if Army and Battles were to lose a challenge with Glasses on their team, and Glasses didn't do anything while the other two tried, what would happen? Glasses would get out on that elimination, right? Because they didn't do anything, which means that they would be allowed to lose a challenge and still have somebody get out, right? Which is a pretty smart strategy. So sometimes you want a little bit of dead weight on your team, right? Because you don't want to just become a solo as soon as you lose one challenge, right? However, at the same time, it's dangerous to have a player like this, because if we have a challenge that's based on a complete team, then we end up having an issue, right? Because, like, for example, if the challenge is, I don't know, have everybody run a marathon, for example, that's just going to make this team's challenge, for example, a lot more complicated, because we can't, like, everybody has to do their part, right? Which means that somebody has, like, carry them across, and it's just bad. It's just not good overall. It's just not a good situation to be in. So, like, I understand. I personally probably would lean more towards having glasses in the team because I'm a fan of numbers. However, like, at the same time, I understand what Army and Battles are getting by. It's just enough at the beginning, we had a little bit of a quote saying that Battles is apparently more angry than usual. But I mean, they were like in the middle of of space for a while, right? And Be a Boy, they were eliminated. They were just chilling in like space. So I guess they got mistreated pretty badly. I think as far as characters that got mistreated, I think they were definitely one of the most mistreated characters. But then we end up having none other than our teams. Hold on, let's get our team names here. I'm just gonna skip this section. Okay, so let's form our team. Bed Warriors. This is the team that we talked about. Battles are not an army. They're called Bed Warriors because Bed Wars. What do we think of this team? This team is okay. They are pretty strong, and Army is also kind of smart, like when it comes to like direct tactics, right? So I could see this team doing pretty decently for a while. However, it's that danger of having any type of social challenge, and they might have a little bit of an issue, right? Like, for example, if you have a challenge like be a salesman, like, okay, it becomes a little bit more complicated, right? However, when it just comes to physical challenges, I do trust them pretty much. Like, for example, this challenge was a staying contest, boom. Battles is a skin, can't blink, boom. Got it. Magic, right? So Bed Warriors, pretty solid team. However, of course, risking it with two people. But we have The Team, which is a name that definitely exists. This is Diamond D, Owl, PP Bow, and Brady. It's a cohesive team. Right? Like, these three people get along. That's for sure. They pretty much don't get along. Diamond D is currently dead in the water. They're just completely miserable. So we're kind of considering them dead weight right now. Right, but this team is gonna be fun because I mean, at least in the current rhetoric of it, Diamond D would just get out anytime that they'd be up for elimination, which means that like this team isn't even risking that much if they lose. So they work together. They'll agree on ideas. Of course, I don't think anybody on this team is that smart. You know, I don't think there's a big brain on this team. However, if we all agree on an idea, we can at least do the idea with conviction. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? But like, I'm pretty confident in this team having united ideas. Then, yeah, okay. So this team is a little bit of a problem because it does have Winner in it, right? So, and Winner's fine. It's just nobody else can really resist around Winner. I said Pants. Pants doesn't mind. You know, Pants is going to be a winner defender. Then there's Seven in the mix who kind of just joins the team anyways because everybody else is rejected. They were too late to join the other team. They were just like, oh, yeah. So they don't really like Winner, but they're going to need to warm up to Winner. We'll see if we can do that. And there's also Glasses on this team, which ends up being a little bit of an issue. So yeah, you see, with Seven kind of not being able to interact with Winner that much, and Glasses kind of not caring, it ends up that Pants has to kind of be a connection piece between the entire team. And I don't know if they've exactly got leadership vibes around them because they're relatively relaxed as a character, right? Which means that I don't know if I'm exactly feeling the leadership vibes coming in here from Pants, which means that this team is probably gonna struggle in the grand scheme of things because like I like unless seven really has to warm up to winner. That's pretty much it needs to be what happens. Then we have the veterans. This is Fishbowl, Hanger, Fake Apple, and Pinky. This team, they're just chill. They're kind of buddies. They like hang about. They do stuff. Fake Apple is a relatively smart character. Fish Tank is a relatively smart character. Hanger is a very, very energetic character as well. And then Pinky sort of acts as a connecting piece. I think that yeah, no, this team's good. This team is pretty solid. I mean, like they're I don't know if they're fan favorite team in terms of like who people like. I'd guess that they'd be a fan favorite team because it's a lot of OGs, a lot of very recognizable characters. However, yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of this. Personally, I like this team. I think this is a good team, both in the sense that I like how their general vibe. Like I like watching them because they're fun, but I also like just them as a team because I think that they can go place. I think that they can go pretty far. Like they can make the distance, for sure. Like when would they lose a challenge? I don't know. Like they're pretty good. Like in most challenges, they'll be fine. And then there's team Victorious with a K. Not really sure what VIK Torious. I'm not exactly sure why, but this has Robot Leo, Glassy, Your Mom, and Fork in a Toaster. This team is what is this team? This team feels like the type of team that's going to be distracted by each other. Not going to lie. Because your mom is going to be a very much so like a mentor figure to the others, right? Which means that we're going to be having to think about Glassy a lot in this team, right? Robot Leo, for example, in this episode, they gain damage, right? We're going to need to think about Robot Leo a lot. For Forky might have to ask, right? So we're going to need to think about them as well, right? And another character we're thinking about. Basically, this team might not be too focused on the challenge at hand, which is something that I'm a bit worried, right? Because like your mom's probably going to be interacting with other team, making inter-team shenanigans. Robot Lee is going to need to get fixed up. Glassy, everybody just needs to try to get Glassy and not be scared, right? So like this team might not be focused enough on the challenge, and it might cause problems. This is what I'm thinking. But other than that, I guess the team is okay. The team's manageable. Yeah. If you're wondering what I think of the team making process, I like the icons. Big fan of the icons that happen. Yes, it's just a BFB and Teapot thing, but hey, if you're gonna take something from BFB and Teapot, that is one of the best elements. The graphical design, like whenever Teapot pops in with UI, it's always great. Right? So like, yes, go take it. Why not? And then we have ourselves a challenge, which is a staring contest. Okay, and now what is our format here? So we have 5 teams, which means that we need to format some sort of weird brackets. So oh wait, hold on, give me a moment, give me a moment, just to make sure. Um, wait. Okay, whoever wins that match gets immunity. Whoever loses goes up against the second winning team. Never loses that match goes to the final round. Okay, yeah. Okay, so basically it's like kind of a bracket. So and since Bed Warriors are at a disadvantage, they get more lives, right? Which means that yeah, the teams with 4 people have 2 lives. I mean, no, Bed Warriors has 3 lives, technically. So that means that the teams of 4, yeah, they face each other. 2 of them move on. I mean, no, 2 of them drop down to the loser's bracket, okay? To the loser's match. Then in the second round, the 2 winners, they face Bed Warriors. However, it's not in one combined match. Instead, the first team faces Bed Warriors, and then the loser of that faces the other winning team, and then the winner of that and then the winner of both of those matches gets immunity. So that's 3 lives if you're a winner. No, if you're the first winning team or your Bed Warriors, you get 3 lives. So then if you're the second winning team, which you see, I guess that's the only problem is that like the first winning team would for some reason have an extra life than the second winning team. But yeah, then the loser of that drops down. the second match drops down to the loser bracket alongside the other two that lost in the first round, and then they have a match. And then the loser of that is up for elimination. That is it's a very complicated system. It makes sense. The only thing that's of course a little bit weird is just that like giving an extra life to Bed Warriors makes sense. It's just I don't know why the first winning team has that additional life compared to the second winning team, right? When there's not even a side of seeding. I'm a fun fact. I make tournaments, so I will be discussing brackets. So like, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's a format that works. It probably would have just been better since we can do three-way matches. You just have the winners plus Bed Warriors in a three-way match, and the top two go safe. But like, okay. um, Now we have ourselves the rule set. Apparently, we are supposed to try to not be too violent. Apparently, we're trying to not be too violent, even though violence ends up being the name of the game. You see, the thing about being a moderator here at Boxbot, and the Boxbot needs to try to sort this thing out, is that like you need to be like you can be a moderator with conviction. You can have rules and force people to play by the rules without being extremely mean, right? If you're like, don't be too violent, and somebody kills somebody else, they should be disqualified. You know, red card. And you can't, and people aren't going to get mad because it's directly what you said. Don't do murder, right? Like you, yeah, yes, you can do words, but at a certain point, disqualify people. You know, like that's the thing that boss one needs to understand. Because like Fish's metric is way too extreme, to where we're forcing rules that aren't rules onto people, right? However, in this case, when it is a rule, you can expect to disqualify someone if they break the rule, which is something that box one needs to be doing. Especially if we're doing this type of challenge, right, where like you can directly just be a bit mean. Like yes, you can murder someone and they'll blink, right? But yeah, we're having a couple of people be kind of interesting. Fake Apple can't blink because they're drawn with marker, apparently. So they end up kind of doing okay, but everybody just solves the strategy of throwing snowballs at them or murdering them, and then they end up being out every time. So so they don't quite get to manage it. Over on the veterans though, at least there is the clutch up of Hanger. Hanger's very good. They're like they're kind of dumb, so they don't really know what they're doing, but they're high energy. Just kind of keeps their eyes open, anyways. They're doing pretty solid. Another character that always has their eye open is Robot Leo until eventually we yeet a thing at Robot Leo, and then Robot Leo starts breaking, which ends up being a problem because it's not dead. They just need someone to fix them, but freaking Boxhead's not there anymore. So like Boxhead's over on Boyd. So I don't know who's gonna fix Robot Leo. This might be an issue heading into the next two episodes because like nobody's gonna fix it. So yeah, it was a pretty shambolic performance from the Glasses team overall, and they do end up losing this challenge, by the way. They end up losing this challenge pretty hard because, like, at the end of the day, okay, so this team does a major mistake, and it's caring about Glasses too much, okay? Because for some reason, these teams, they have this thing about having a global effort. Oh, Glasses, you need to try. And it's like, well, I mean, okay, yes, it would benefit your team if Glasses tried, but you don't need to necessarily give in too much of an effort to get Glasses to try, because at the end of the day, it's an individual challenge, right? It's the person who survives the most. Yeah, if Glasses had tried, would they have kept their eyes open the longest? Maybe. Maybe not, like, to be honest. But like, yeah, that team was way too focused on trying to get Glasses to try when it said they should have just tried themselves a little bit harder, right? Because then they're getting so distracted by complaining about Glasses that them getting themselves out like half the time. So it's just yeah, it's a shambles. It's a shambles over on that team. Then we end up also having Diamond D, which ends up absolutely soloing the other team because Diamond D is too sad to blink. Like, they're just freaking staring at whatever void that they're currently looking at. And, like, somebody's got to check up on this guy. Poor soul. What happened? Oh my god, bro. We need like, I'm sorry to say, but we need to murder some of these characters so that they revive and be more okay next time. Because, like, I don't, like, bro, this is not looking good. Then we end up having some other fellas. Oh yeah, I like the gag of PP Bowls being called Powerpuff Bowl with a bow, like by Boxbot half the time, and be like, "That's not my name." That's kind of fun, you know. Then we end up having some fellas, like you see, yeah, Army ends up murdering fish tank to get them out, but somehow that doesn't get a warning or a card. Like, like we need to be more imperative with our rules, bro. Like, if we don't set the rules, okay? If we didn't set the rules, don't be too violent. Yeah, okay. That's fine. However, when we are setting the rules of don't be too violent, I'm expecting those rules to be enforced. All right. So come on, Bossbot, do better. In this case, I'm specifically signifying the in-universe character. Okay. If we're writing from like an external point of view, right, we can definitely write a host that doesn't quite follow their rules. That's nice on the rules. That's why I'm specifically saying that, this character should learn this. I don't think that this is a writing mistake necessarily. I just think that it's like it's a situation, you know. But yeah, eventually, what do we even have? We have some other fellas that end up doing that. We end up eventually having the finale. Hanger, to be fair, tried a pretty decent strategy to try to get Diamond D's attention. Trying to talk about death and whatever. But then Diamond D just does not care. It was impossible. Hanger tried. Okay, there was a decent attempt, but yeah. Eventually, Glasses dips out, and oh yeah, they get Winner out by just simply bullying them over on the other team, Fish Tank and Pinky, and they're going, yeah, the Winner's so useless, he's so sad, and then Winner just gets the emotions, they get felt, they get hit, and they're kind of sad, right? So Winner eventually dips out of that challenge as the veterans end up doing their own job. But then it ends up being Pants and the final character over Chilling, which ends up being Hanger. And then Pants, unfortunately, is just mildly more chill than Hanger, so Hanger does not blink. For some reason, the Hanger's team gets mad at Hanger for nearly losing the challenge. Magi, why are you getting mad at Hanger if they survive longer than you? Like, half of you got out because of celebrating. Like, bro, what are we doing out here? But that means that team fella the team with glasses on it ends up being up for elimination. Let's talk about this elimination. So, I mean, surely it's just glasses, right? Like, I mean, I don't know why it would just be anybody else, right? Like, I mean, it could be like no, I know. I mean, okay, so who lost? It was everybody else kind of did a fail because of glasses, and I mean, other people made Winner sad, right? So I think there'd be pity on Winner, right? And it's a vote to eliminate though, so maybe people don't like Winner, and especially now. Since of course we've got residue from the fact that Winner is a character that already exists. I'm interested if the fact that Winner already exists in Teapot as an entirely different character, entirely different style, if this like relic of a Winner before there was such a thing as Winner, would get more votes to eliminate or less votes to eliminate. I don't know. It's really interesting to see. And we're gonna find out in MCS2, I guess. However, Glasses gotta go. I mean, they just disrespect all the principles. Viewers tend to vote characters that they don't respect the show, right? Because we want to see characters compete in the competition that we're watching, right? So when we see a character directly reject the competition, we usually tend to vote them out in large quantities, and everybody else doesn't really strike me as the type to really get eliminated. Although, I mean, I guess Seven did a mean thing, but like, again, like, the reason they lose is because they're distracted by glasses. Seven, I guess, does a murder, which is pretty bad. And Winner, I guess, is just not a very unique character in terms of, like, oh, it's Loser but reverse, even though now Loser's reputation has since been swapped out. So now it's Loser, but it's just Loser again. Right. So, like, it's kind of, it's fine. I mean, I don't know, but I think Glasses gotta go. I gotta predict Glasses on this one. Not too much else that I can really say here. It's Glasses, and it's gotta be Glasses, okay? Because otherwise, it's just kind of crazy. One other thing that I do want to point out, it gets when we're giving out our thanks here, at the end of the credits here, we apparently have a post cut of whoever did the thumbnail art. It's not there anymore. It's blurred out and everything, which is extremely interesting. I wonder why. I mean, it could be because First of all, it could be because the thumbnail swapped, maybe, and then we got rid of it. Or it could be because whatever it is, you don't want to associate with the people that made the thumbnail. As usual, in my personal opinion, what happens in the past happens. I'm not a big fan of like erasing history for the sake of keeping an image, even though like, this happened before we knew, and then now that we knew, we got rid of it, right? But like, what happens in the past is in the past. We understand that, like, especially in a show that's ongoing, you want to keep the reputation, you don't want to change it. If it's somebody bad, if it's just a thumbnail swap, then I don't know, just keep it, bro. It's interesting to see. But anyways, time for episode 2 of MCS, which is titled Up, Up, and That Way. Okay, then, let's go. Up. All right, that is episode 2 of MCS, or MCS2, Up, Up, and That Way. So, um, we have ourselves our initial conversation. As you remember, Winner ran very far away, apparently, last time after quitting the challenge because they were sad. They were like, damn it, I'm like useless and shit, And it's like, yeah, I mean, people don't like you, and you also haven't exactly performed the best, which does put in a lot of negativity towards you. But then Pants comes in and is like, "Yo, look, I'm like, no, I'm your friend, right? And you're cool. You're a great fan. People don't get to know you. You know what Robo Leo said, right? Like people are just making up excuses and everything." And then eventually, Winner gets comforted by that, which is pretty nice. I like this dynamic. I think it's interesting when it's like guy who is the only one who can immediately understand what's going on with like Winner, who like it doesn't have an immediate resentment to Winner, right? So you end up having like this relatively interesting dynamic, right? Of like they are the only one who can realistically understand, because it's not like Winner isn't trying to reach out to other people, it's just that other people don't respond back, like they respond back with the negativity because of the whole like anti-negative emotional aura, right? So it makes a pretty interesting little situation. It's a unique situation, not one that I've necessarily seen in too many other shows, in too many other Object shows. So like I think it's pretty good. I enjoy this a lot. We're getting some unique situations. I like some like different style of arcs. Even though like at the end of the day it's just two friends, but like it's a different style. There's a different surrounding than the usual, which I think makes it stand out as pretty nice, right? So I definitely enjoy it. But now we have ourselves an elimination. So the elimination hosted by Adobe, because Boss was like, "Yo, Adobe, you all been oppressed with fish. I'm gonna let you do some more shit. You host an elimination." Adobe like, "What? I'm not hosting elimination my show for years, right? Because all the fellas in that show were dead." So Adobe has to be one of the most like chill people I think I've ever seen. As far as host goes, so far in the catch-up, I don't think I have seen a more relaxed like style of host than Adobe. Adobe speaks like superbly quiet, superbly chill, superbly relaxed, and also superbly nice. Like honestly, I might not have to go back and figure out what show Adobe's from, because like I might need to watch. I'm curious what Adobe was like in that show, because like it's really interesting. But before that, actually, we have our eliminated contestants, which end up adventuring out into the midst of the big old forest, where we end up finding ourselves a hut after they eventually, just walk around a path for ages. This hut has apparently a very big basement, so they end up entering it, and presumably this is where they're going to be staying. But it's very small, so maybe also no. But it's got the basement looks pretty big, so we're gonna have to see. We don't get to discover that in this episode. Like we just kind of we do not get to know. And then there's two other characters, Floppy Disk and another fellow that I don't remember the name of. Fun fact about them, their voice actors, I think, get spoiled by the credits scene, right? Because we chat about them, but then like we don't actually get to hear them speak until after, when like until the post credit scene when they show up, which is oops. Oh well. Then we have some situations. What do we do? What do we do? Okay. Oh yeah, I like the transition into the intro. The transition into the intro is really cool. The way that like it pops into the TV like fades in, and we have the intro. I'm surprised at that first section of the intro with like Adobe and Leo falling down. I'm surprised that's like a constant presence of the intro. That kind of surprised me because I thought that was gonna be that was gonna be taken out for time, kind of like how in BFB1 when the intro appears for the first time. There's like the extended variant with the hand, right? But in this case, but then it gets chopped out every time to the shortened version. I thought that was gonna happen here, but no, it actually isn't happening here. We just have that's just the intro, which is, I mean, it's not a long intro, like 30 seconds, and at the end of the day, who cares, right? But it's cool. I just found it kind of interesting. 7 eventually ends up getting the other fellas because they run very fast, and we have ourselves the first elimination. Where out of 1,800 votes, we have the elimination of glasses with 1,200 of them. 1,000 more votes than second place. What? That is honestly, okay. The elimination was hilariously obvious, right? Yes, it was really obvious. You were like, glasses was the only home. But by 1,000 votes, that's like a 70% of all the votes. Like what, 1,800? No, that's like 60% of all votes. And getting a majority when there's 4 options, that's a feat right there. But I mean, yeah, obviously you gotta go. You disrespect the competition. You don't care. You're just not an interesting personality. You're unlikable. Like it's all of the negative attributes just combined into one, to make one super vote magnet. So yeah, goodbye glasses. You were not really that interesting. We then end up having we end up using a hose to clean them up. Then the characters are like, yo, and we get to murder them because then they get respawned. And if they get respawned, then yes, they are back to normal, which is fair enough. So yeah, they get eliminated. I don't know where they go. We don't get to discover that either. But they get sent to some glitch planet, and it's interesting. Boxbot is we need to figure out how accepting Boxbot is a murder. We're trying to figure this out still because I don't really know. Because this guy's like, yo, do the staring concept, but not much violence. And when violence happens, you just kind of stop mentioning it as a thing after the first time. Then here, if a death happens, you're like, whoa, what is that? But then we're like, you don't get too mad at it. I don't know. This Boxball got kind of interesting. I don't know. It might be pro-death at the end of the day. we might be having a suspicious little fella going on here. I'm not sure if I'm too convinced by the woes here, but yeah, we end up having a couple of fellas after the elimination. Diamondy ends up going back to normal. Diamondy completely because we use the hose to clean off Diamondy. Diamondy eventually just freaking runs off, which is which is interesting. They actually get to move and act and stuff now that they're free from the green goop, which what it was I don't remember, but probably like a barf. Then Robot Leo, we try to solve Robot Leo. We call the Robot Leo Express services hosted by Folder, which ends up also getting fixed. We wrench it, and then they get fixed. By the way, speaking of which, Leo's mom is actually not credited anymore in the credits directly. The character, your mom, just put under the LeoFriends credits now, which I mean, okay, I guess. But yeah, that credit is officially been postponed, wrenched up. Robot Leo's officially all fixed. Shout out to Fork and a Toaster. Fork and a Toaster. A toaster. Ooh, I said it in a fancy way. But yeah, a Fork and a Toaster. It's seeming to be kind of like the new box set style. They're not as smart as box set, but they're kind of taking care. It seems like Robot Leo. There's always one character that seems to make it their hobby to kind of look out for Robot Leo. Kind of like box set was kind of looking out for Robot Leo. And in this case as well, in this episode multiple times, right? Fork and Toast is kind of looking out here towards Robot Leo. Which is pretty interesting. Then we end up having the challenge. Okay, so challenge. Bounce on a bouncy castle. I know, right? Interesting challenge for sure. And then in this bouncy castle, you get to what did I say? Oh yeah, you have to jump the most times the team that jumps the most times will win. The team that jumps the least will be up for elimination. There's not. I mean, I don't know. Yes, the team that wins, but it doesn't matter if they win because nothing. No prize. They don't. There's not a winner. They're not a first place prize. You have to not get last, right? So you have to jump. What is the best tactic for jumping off a bouncy castle? It's probably to just jump. I'm not gonna lie. Like again, at the end of the day, you just have to not be last. So I feel like if you just focus on your own game, like do your jumps, right? Focus on your own game, dodge attacks, because of course sabotaging is a thing. If you're behind on team members, right? If you got either a flying contestant or something, maybe it is a valid idea to try to sabotage the other teams because like you're directly, like your disadvantage in terms of if everybody were to jump evenly, you would lose out because you have less jumping capable members. So it's more than valid enough. The numbers at the end, then they're kind of interesting. I wonder if they're necessarily like if they're an accurate count of how many jumps we saw on the screen, or if of course they're not accounted because the numbers didn't seem too high. The numbers seem like relatively low-ish. Like what was it? 120, 60, all that just like it wasn't numbers that were too high, which is all right. This episode in general gives me an interesting vibe because 22 minutes, right? There was the runtime of this episode. Yeah, it didn't feel that long. It really didn't feel that long. This episode felt short to me. It kind of it ran its course pretty fast. The challenge was pretty fast, but it wasn't that fast. It was a relatively normal life challenge. I think that's a positive sign in general. If it feels short, that means that like it's done its job properly, right? Because like it just feels like oh yo things are just happening and time is passing and I'm having a good time watching a show here, right? So that's like that's like good, the time passes. But yeah, we have some chats. It seems that Pinky just constantly wants to get rid of Winner. That seems to be the idea. Like, yo, if we target Winner and Winner's team loses, Winner will get out, and we don't like Winner. So then Winner ends up getting out if we keep sabotaging their team, which theoretically should be easier to sabotage. Okay, yeah, fair, because there's not really a buff for the weaker team in this challenge specifically, which is fair enough. But it still comes off as a little bit obsessive, and like when you know that it's a show that like people are like watching, I guess it could be a little bit of like, oh, you're looking obsessive. However, at the same time, it is one of those things where it's like you gotta think it in universe as well. Nobody in the universe, except like Pants or Glass or whatever, everybody hates Winner, right? Everybody in the universe. So they can't exactly guess that us here outside of the universe like Winner because we understand what's going on, right? Like, they don't know that we know that we like them because we can feel it, right? But so from their universe, it's fair enough to be like, oh, everybody dislikes Winner, so we'll put them out. However, maybe you can start piecing the pieces together, putting the pieces together, if they don't get out. But like, oh well, I guess maybe not every time. But yeah. So we have here our fellow Bouncy Castle, everybody's favorite challenge. So what does some people do? So the team of the Owls ends up having some problems, and of course the team of 2 people only desperately needs to start causing ruckus, because they are, of course, the team that, in this challenge, they don't have an advantage of an extra life like they did before. So in this team, they have to get to work at causing chaos, causing mass problems, and they do try to do that. Owl also has to fly around sabotaging the other teams. Leo decides to come in with a laser, all that other jazz ends up also incoming. I like how Hanger, in the whole conversation I was talking about like, what is the card? I already forgot. Well, about Winner. Like, Hanger is just freaking sleeping there on top of the fish tank. It's such an interesting thing. Hanger's fun. You know what? I'm going to say it, I like Hanger. Hanger's one of those characters. I'm an enjoyer of Hanger. They're fun. They're goofy. They have like they like weird things, like being on top of the fish tank specifically. But like it's cool. It's fun. It's a fun little character, high energy character to have every once in a while. That's not like annoying. This like it's fun. It's cute. But yeah. Seven gets stolen away by the owl. Then we get them back. However, the laser is charged by Robot Leo. They shoot the laser. Reddy ends up getting sent away, while PP Bo ends up getting by the laser. Army eventually gets kicked all the way off, which gets mad at Diamond D, right? Yeah, because Diamond D kicks him off because, of course, Diamond D was all mad. So Army comes in, speed runs it at Diamond D. It goes at high speeds, and glass shards we can demolish the bouncy castle. So that way it ends in 15 minutes, the challenge. So that's a I mean, it's a global abysmal fail. However, it's a global abysmal fail that is very good for that team because, like, it is technically probably within the best interest of the smaller teams to end the challenge as quickly as possible, right? Because it's like, if you can only get 2 jumps per second because you're 2 people, and then the team with 4 people can get in 4 jumps per second because each person, let's say they jump 1 time a second, right? Then that means that slowly the gap is going to increase. So if you're one of the smaller teams, you want to try to probably, like, end the challenge as quick as possible. So that way that gap can't increase. However, of course, it's dangerous because if you're already at the bottom, right, to start off with, then you have to sabotage a team, overtake them, and then you can finish the challenge quickly before they get back, because otherwise it doesn't work. So that is the current situation. Fish Tank keeps dying, by the way. So far, look, how many episodes do we think Fish Tank survives an episode without dying? What are we thinking? Currently, we're 2 for 2 in terms of deaths, and Fish Tank's a very fragile character. I wonder how the fish in the Fish Tank feels to exist. But so what happens with 67 jumps? The team ends up losing. With Brady, Diamond D, and PP. Wait, it was PP Ball, Owl, Diamond, and Brady. Okay, this team had a struggle because Diamond D pretty much didn't care about the challenge still, because they were kind of just like, mad because they just woke up, they're mad at themselves, like, whatever. then we have ourselves Brady and people, which were trying, however, of course, they get distracted there near the end by having to dodge the lasers and all that. And then there's Aldo trying to sabotage the other teams, but they just can't jump because if they land on the thing, they're gonna, like, the claws are gonna pierce it, because the claws of the owl are sharp, so it's gonna pierce the thing. And yeah, I probably should have taken a look at Beat Boy 14 before rewatching this, and that is 100% my bad, because I don't remember what happened to Diamond. I just that didn't stick in my head, and that is really unfortunate because this is like an important thing that I have to know about, you know. Like, it's an important thing that I must know about, which is a problem because I don't currently know what happened. Is also friend? Who was your friend? Oh God, why am I dumb? Who the hell was it? Wait a minute. Let me see if does it show up in Be a Boy 14? Is this a thing that's relevant in this episode? Maybe? No. No? Okay, I don't I don't remember. But either way, they're gonna probably be fine because, like, they're fine. No, but who gets out? Because there was oh God, I think Owl gets out. Owl probably gets out because, like, at the end of the day, Owl can't talk, first of all, and even though people don't necessarily mind a non-speaking contestant, I think. However, even though people might not necessarily mind a non-speaking contestant, they're still probably going to be a little bit more prone to vote them out because of the general fact that if you don't speak, like, you don't necessarily become more interesting because you don't speak, right? Like, you end up having a like, if you're not doing interesting things and then you also don't speak, it ends up being a boring all round, right? Even though it can be interesting to not speak from time to time. I mean, Teardrop is a very interesting character, despite the fact that she doesn't speak. But, like, here with Owl, they didn't do anything, and they also fucked up the challenge in the sense that, like, yes, you went to sabotage, however, you didn't sabotage, like, correctly. Like, you went to attack the robot that can fight back. You grab 7 only to plonk them in a different spot. But that's not that different. Like, it's just we sabotaged the wrong people. Okay, I wasn't too smart about who to sabotage. We should have made better choices. So not feeling good about Owl. Who are the other options? People saved, they did the sacrifice. She's one who says save. Then Diamond D, apologize for the whole thing. You kind of see where they're coming from. Yo, my bad. I was sorry for not doing anything. I ignored my team. I ignored me in the past. I'm mad about myself. I was like, yo, okay, we good. So especially since that's a scene near the end as well. I think that Diamond D should be safe. And then there's Brady, who didn't necessarily do much and doesn't do much, like, in general. However, they're, like, fun. They're fine, They end up also going out to help out. They're a pretty nice contestant. They're the beneficiary of the sacrifice. It's kind of weird to say, oh, I dislike you because people saved you. Like that. I don't. Is that how logic works? No, it's not. No, it's not how logic works. I'm pretty sure it's not. So yeah, I think Al has to go. But we keep doing a single elimination. Is this show really gonna do single elimination? Wait, there's 5 teams. Wait, how many characters in the show? Hold on. Let me do the math. So there's 4 teams of 4, and then there's a team of 2. There's 8. Wait, there's 18 contestants. That's okay. That is pretty low. When I think about it, that's like not that much. Because this show gave me the vibe of having more characters in this, but I guess it really doesn't have that many. Okay, well then maybe they're not doing double then. Okay. Well, then maybe we're fine. Then maybe we're fine. Because I'm thinking of the BFBT pot split that this takes it, and like, oh, the majority of characters. Like, yes, a lot of characters did go. In general, more people went over to the MCS. However, nearly all of them were busy in the rejoin. No, we're busy in the debut, which means that like, well, we just don't get to see a lot of them. So that's where I'm getting the confusion from. Then we have ourselves an outro. Here, that's pretty long. Is there any other? I think there was another thing that I think I wanted to mention. No, wait. No, I already mentioned it. No, that's not true. Then we have our post-credit scene where the fellas end up going down the ladder thing to the basement, and then we end up seeing the other fellas entering the hut and questioning them. They were outside in a bush, and then they went inside to question them directly. So maybe they're the owners of the land of wherever they're supposed to be, which is interesting. But I guess it's like they feel they're the type of character where it's like surely they were anticipating it though, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, why would you just be in a bush looking out at your house unless you knew people were coming? But then if people were coming, surely you know what's going on, like why they're coming, or do you have your own detecting system or whatever, right? I don't know, but it's interesting. We're getting some solid segments here of what do we call it? Like cutoffs. We're getting some nice episode cutoffs. These types of well, I forgot the word. Oh my god, what is it called, bro? Hold on. Nah, I'm dumb. Cliffhanger. Oh my, I gotta stop. Okay, it's a cliffhanger. Like these types of cliffhangers in the show, they've been pretty solid. We're understanding the art of cliffhangers. Like, you want something interesting to happen near the end, because a lot of the time, okay, well, having a post-credit scene be a joke is fun and it's funny. It doesn't leave you wondering about the next episode. And if a post-credit scene or like a final scene can like get you wondering about the next episode, beyond just the elimination, like, oh, you're probably getting eliminated, and then I want to see this as well. It gets you more like attached to the show and more attached to the characters as well, because you have to wonder about them to know what happens next, rather than just everything happens in the episode. Like we get teased the plot line before it happens, which is pretty cool and it's pretty nice. And it's a thing that this show has, a lot of other shows don't, and so other shows need to start having. All right, because it's a good tactic, it functions. Episode 3 of MCS is titled We Plant Up. All right, so let's plant our words and opinions of it, and let's talk about it. Alright, so that is episode 3 of MCS, We Plant Up. Now, before we start, we obviously need to cover the main basis of of the fact that it's been a while in the real world since MCS 2 and MCS 3, right? So let's get our timeline here. Let's get our timeline here straight, because it's pretty important. Okay, MCS3 released on May 6th of 2025. That is not that long ago. It's only a couple years, no, years ago. It's only a couple months ago. MCS2 released on November 7th of 2023. So basically, that is a while. Like a good chunk of time has passed. And you can instantaneously tell from immediately that like we have that like the quality has significantly improved, the animation has significantly improved. There's a big job of like angles, right? Like that's like the one thing this episode tries to show off as well, is that being capable of doing different angles. It feels like there's a camera or in the that's nice, right? When like the show manages to feel like it has a camera on it, because like you can see more different types of angles, right? Behind a character, below a character, above a character. These types of angles are very important, and are very good, right? So that's all nice. We also like you can immediately tell about like this first for frame, like not frame, right? But like this first background of all of the trees in the freaking autumn forest. Like, wow. That looks stunning. That's a crazy background. That's desktop wallpaper, okay? That's desktop wallpaper worthy. I'm not gonna lie, I might do that. No, I probably won't. But like, it'd be cool. Assets have also nearly all of them, I think, gotten some shape of a rework. At least, especially these guys down below. But we end up hearing their story. Yo, we were in a competition show, but then we got rejected. And then these two people get very interested because apparently, I don't know, they want to be in a competition show, because like that's what objects breathe and live and have to do. So yeah, I guess that's what they're doing. And then they end up entering the shiny light. We end up meeting a guy, and then we still don't exactly know what we're doing out here, which is like, well, we're getting this arc's going slow, right? We're getting to discover. First they discover it. No, first they get sent. Then they discover the house, and now they discover the hallway. Okay, come on, bro. Let's get to this. But yeah, we also have ourselves a newly renovated intro with an initial scene. Which, what are we doing? Boxbot is like guiding the fellas, like from the void over to the Greenland or something. Wait, what are you doing? Hold on. What is this scene? Boxbot gets woken up, guides off everybody. They're like in the void. Surely, is that like the town that like they're all like the eliminated contestants like live in? Usually, no, but they're not. But they don't live there because that boy band. No, but the boy. I. What is the timeline? Because he got the date, and the date is October 2022. Which in that, like, theoretically, this is happening at the same time as boy. So no, I don't. I don't know. I don't actually know. But eventually, Battles and Brady ends up. But wait, Battle Ready. No, the Battle Ready just the names, because every character gets to pop in with their name, with their own stylized name, which is nice. We like that intro. It's a pretty solid intro. I also like how the logo is. It's very computerized. Oh, we like made the font and everything. Owl can't fly anymore because of the whole the whole shebang. The whole injury that they had, and we're trying to get them to fly again. And then Diamond brings up an interesting point, and this is a point that's actually getting brought up quite a lot in this show. So I guess as it is quite an important point, and this show is putting a lot of stress on it, let's talk about it. Mortality in an object show. It's an interesting question of like, is it ethical to kill a person? Okay, in an object show, when you have recovery, when they can come back, is there an ethical way to do that, or is it unethical just in general, right? Because there is a debate that gets brought up in this episode a lot. If somebody is extremely injured, right, is there merit to the fact that, if we give them a quick dying and then they come back, they don't usually tend to remember it, then like they get to be free of the injury, and then they live a better life from then on out. And like, we have a recovery center, and it's not gonna go anywhere. So theoretically, it's not bad to do. Right, so then it's the ethics of like, is that still okay, or is it bad because dying is dying and dying is painful, right? Even if it's a quick death, it's still dying, right? That's the debate. The answer is, I mean, it's difficult to answer a moral dilemma for a thing that doesn't happen, right? Like there's no real life example that we can like link to because recovery centers aren't a thing, but like. Uh, Dude, what do I think? Is it ethical? There's a certain point where yes, like I think if somebody's like a bit injured, it's like nah. But there's a certain degree where it's like if somebody's head gets like half chopped off or whatever, right, or they're like incapacitated from even moving, right, there's a certain point where it's like, yeah, I mean, it's probably better to just do it. Like if it's a significantly debilitating injury, if it's like a mild injury, then it's like it's fine. But I think if it's a debilitating injury, then it's like, yeah, no, you can like go, right. There's a bunch of examples of this from like the show we watched yesterday, but I won't get into it. What was this? It was Battle for Virgin, man. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name. But yeah, but we ended up doing that. I remember Diamond D was friends with Lava. Yes, I don't know how I don't know how I didn't remember that, but yeah, we actually get to mention it here. And Lava went over to the other show. So now Diamond D's all like, shit, I can't talk to my friend anymore, and I didn't say anything because I didn't want him to be there, and then Lava wasn't friends with me, right? And then there's all that stuff, and it's like, oh shit, I didn't say anything, I had time, I could have, and I didn't, and it's all bad, and so, I guess, I kind of remember now. My memory is not very good, which is unfortunate because I'm doing a thing where I actively need memory, but, so, very, very sorry about any time that happens. But we have ourselves the elimination. So elimination, we ended up giving corpses. Adobe's so stressed out for not having a prize. And Boxbot just gets like super like, yo, Adobe, what the hell are you doing? But we end up having ourselves the elimination be Owl with 568 compared to 478 for Brady. Yeah, those were the two that realistically could have been eliminated. No, 568 to 479. Those are the two that realistically could have been eliminated, but Owl was just a little bit less interesting overall. Like you saw the friendship happen, and you can see that like they're gonna do things with Al. It's not that Al wasn't gonna get screen time or whatever. It's that it didn't seem like Al was gonna get very valuable screen time. It didn't seem like they were doing something that interesting. And with Brady, right, you can also see that's like they're kind of doing stuff with the character. They're a little bit more fun, a little bit more interesting. I might have personally voted Brady, but like if I was voting. However, I think yeah, Owl makes more sense than elimination. PvPo gets all sad, right? We were trying to get them to fly away, but unfortunately, Boxbot sends them up to the Elam. The Elam place, whatever place that is. But look, hopefully it's a good place. I don't know where they're going. Like they're going to some area because like I mean, to be fair to Fish, Fish ended up sending them to a pretty nice spot, like it was like the in between dimension, and they're like hotel, there are people, there are job, somebody even found a girlfriend. No, no, not a girlfriend. Somebody found a boyfriend because it was freaking bucket. But like, at the end of the day, I don't know where they're getting sent to. They're getting sent to like the green line. It seems like they're getting sent to the place where you can generate things. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know where they're going, but I guess we're gonna have to find out in due time. But then we have ourselves a team merge because the team will winner, and then the other team ends up also merging together with team yeah, and the other team ends up forming Team Heat because they were part of Team Hot back in the day, a majority of them. So that's 7 winner, Pants, PB Diamond D, and Brady, which forms this team now. So they end up having a now numbers advantage on the rest of them, 6 compared to 4 for the other teams, which I mean, yeah, that is a thing. It gives an advantage. I was surprised that no other team tried to catch on to it. Another team was like, "Yo, maybe we should get our numbers up, right?" Because having a bigger team, in general, I think it's a pretty good thing. Like, there's that kind of the debate of whether having more people up for elimination makes you less likely to eliminate. Because, like, I say Wiz, so I think you want to be on the largest team possible. So that way there's the most possible people that can fuck up outside of you, right? In any chance situation. So in that case, I would probably be into the idea of being in a bigger team. So I would personally start going like, yo, their team really big. I'm gonna go there, or like join up with a different fella with the other team to try to like outnumber them because they're kind of scary as a team of six. Anyways, job, job. The challenge ends up being plant a seed, grow the seed, water it, do whatever you need to do, and then grab a thing that's on a cloud and bring it back to Adobe and box bots. If you do that, you will be safe. No sabotaging and no killing because Box is not a fan of it. And then I'm eventually having a debate with Adobe about like, yo, isn't it like painful? Isn't it like immoral? Like, isn't it like such a cruel? The thoughts like making life, life stops its meaning. And it's like, yeah, it's an interesting question. It's an interesting question, and it's an interesting debate. And I currently don't know if I exactly have an opinion on it. To be honest, like I'm trying to think of one, but I don't currently have a perfect opinion on like, is it ethical? Is it not ethical? Yeah, I think it's ethical if the person is in pain. I think. You know, that's my opinion. If the person isn't in direct pain from whatever they call it, right? Like whether like, oh, they were patched up and now they're fine, right? Then it's like, okay. But if they're necessarily in pain, like for example with Owl, I maybe would understand because they are literally because they're debilitated and it's pain, right? Or like for example Glass or Glass in this episode, right? Ends up being like super debilitated. Like their head gets like half chopped off and they have to get glued back on and they're still feeling it, right? In that case, it's like, okay, maybe we can do recovery. This is better. But other than that, yeah, let's try to keep it life. And for a competition, at the end of the day, yes, ban dying, ban being mean to other people, that's better, right? So we end up doing that. Yeah, again, Boss was a bit too nice. Like, oh, you'll be sent to the timeout corner and get timeouted. Okay, bro, that's like worth it half the time. They like, as long as if you get it submitted in account, you have to be disqualified. Okay, that's what you gotta be. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Like, otherwise, it doesn't matter. So it's gonna do it anyways. We could send the timeout for 5 minutes, but we have a couple of teams doing their own thing. The Bad Warriors ends up soloing the challenges by a country mile because they have bone meal. Okay, I'm gonna say I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of this guy. Like this Minecraft guy because like they have the Minecraft like sets. They have blocks, they have items, right? Which is cool. I like that as a character trait. It's just that like we already did that though. Like it's cool as a character individually, and when I look at it, it's like, okay, yeah, but like we already did that. That's just grass block, no? Like that's grass block. Grass block did it. Did it in Boib, and I thought it was cool in Boib, right? And grass block is cool, but this guy, like, it's the same thing, but it's in the show that you watch after. So now it's not as cool anymore because it's the second guy who does it, basically, rather than the first guy. So it's kind of not superbly, you know. So Brady just starts spitting on the freaking thing, and it works. The fish tank water doesn't work with to charge it. A couple of people take the fish tank water. I was about to like, you can't take 2 cups of the fish tank water without the fish tank already starting to get headaches. I mean, like, really? You need that much water? Like, I mean, I don't know what being a fish tank is like. I'm surprised. So yet again, we end up having a four-handed toaster end up messing here with Robot Leo. I'm telling you, bro, this is the new mentor of Robot Leo. We end up turning them into a gardener, which is rather fun. So we discover, okay, Winner's negative emotional aura, right? It's like, it's not a negative emotional aura. It's just a negative aura. Because what do you mean the plant moves away from Winner? Like, I mean, I guess it's an alive thing. right? It's like the whole thing, plants are alive, right? So then it's like, oh, they're trying to distance themselves from one. Okay, I mean, sure, I guess. So, you know what's really funny? If we're releasing pheromones that lets make people hate you, does that mean that we're gonna need to invent deodorant in the object world? That's what we're gonna have to do, right? We're just gonna need to invent deodorant. It's like, oh, it smells better. So now I don't hate you. That we're gonna need to do. I mean, if you think about it, right? We're just gonna need to invent deodorant. Like, I mean, okay, interesting, I guess. But yeah, at least I like PPBO's like the willingness to be like, yo, I don't know why I hate you. For some reason, Pinky is extremely distracted. They want to go mess with Winner for some reason. Guy, you're suspicious. You're so suspicious. Suspect. Then we end up having Pinky. Hold on, what were we doing? Yeah, Pinky comes in with Hanger. Hanger eventually gets decapitated so that they can be used as a tool to reach the top, so they can reach the tool. Then we end up having, but are they October 15th? Why is it October 15th? I don't, I don't remember. I don't know what time the episodes of Boy released, but we're in A time. So I'm having a mad dash to the finish with Pinky and also Seven. No, when Fork in a Toaster and also Seven, who you can always run faster than everybody else, except right now. Now they can't. Which okay. And then eventually they give it off. They go to the timeout corner. Despite, I mean, look, again, they're teeing us safe, but they went to the timeout corner. Have you seen sports? You'll take a yellow card. Like, we take yellow cards if it means that we're safe from not conceding, right? Like, it's better. But eventually, the other two teams break their items on the road to running after them. It was all really Pinky's fault. How did we keep doing it? No, Pinky did like all of it. We can tripped everyone. It's not our fault, right? That we freaking stabbed Seven and did whatever to Fork and Toast. No, actually, I don't know how Fork and Toast broke that. They might have just tripped. So both teams are for elimination, but only one person is leaving from either team. PvP gets super mad. Is like, shit. We're doing that situation. Pinky yet again starts realizing how much of an army they're being because they were up for detention. They got scolded by your mom. I mean, I don't. You make me realize, oh, be a better person. No, you won't. There's Winner still around. Until Winner's around, I don't. This arc's still happening. I don't trust it. But voting screen. Okay, so who's up for Edom? Pants, Winner, Seven, PPBO, Diamondy, and Bread on the big team, on Team Heat, and then Fork in the Toaster, Glassy, Robot Leo, and your mom on the other team. Team Victorious with a K. I'm feeling. What am I feeling? The Glassy's a little bit of a contradiction because it's the type of character where they're gonna get some, like, they get pity for being a scaredy cat character. However, they're also gonna get votes for being a refusal character, right? They're a character that refuses to compete in most challenges, right? And if they're trying to get helped out, it's gonna be a thing. In general, characters are trying to help out. PvPos should be safe. Seven should be safe. I mean, they did the challenge the best. Okay, let's who do we lock down here? Hold on. Let's lock in our safe people. Robo Leo was cool in this episode. Very safe. Fork and a Toaster did the best in challenge. So did Seven. They're both safe. I think your mom is safe. Just kind of for like not really doing anything that's problematic. Like, I don't know why you would vote to eliminate like her specifically. Brady also did the challenge the best for their team by spitting. So I think they should be fine. I mean, they don't have too much screen time beyond that, but they still do that. Winner and Pants are just cool, dynamic. So then they're doing that. So and PvP should be safe because of the pity. So then I think it's Diamondy or Glassy, and Diamondy had that one scene in the post credit scene, and especially since the post credit scene, the last thing that you see, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, you also had this thing, so I'll sympathize with you. So maybe I should put Brady back in the conversation. Maybe Brady could get out. Because it didn't nearly get out the other time, and that can cause some additional resentment. But I'm gonna go glass. I'm saying Glassy gets eliminated because they reject the competition, and they're kind of a scaredy cat that doesn't really seem to really be doing that much improvement. Like we're trying to get them to improve, but they're not really improving that much. So I'm gonna say that we're kind of we eliminate them. Speaking of which, the post credit scene is everybody just comforting PP Bokoyo, or being sad. I don't want to lose another person, bro. Like this is all that jazz. After hour, and everybody comes in to comfort them, and it's just a cute scene. It's just cute. It's nice. It's fun. Episode 4 of MCS is titled Lost, Not Found. Alright, then let's watch it. Let's talk about it. Let's do that, jazz. Okay, so that is MCS 4, Lost, Not Found. So, we have ourselves a little bit of interest, and we're utilizing the other modes here from Robot Leo. You just know that, like, with how free, happy-go-lucky we are, going like mode by mode, moment by moment, taking a look. I'm kind of scared for the obvious psychopathic killer mode that will be turned on in an episode. It just feels like it's a thing that's bound to happen at this point. I mean, like, it feels like a plot line, It's just like, we're sometime this is gonna get turned on. Somebody's gonna accidentally twist the die or whatever. It's gonna be a problem, Like it just gives all that vibe. But here we're using freaking Bob Ross mode to draw some art pieces, which some people draw. Fork in a Toaster has a very interesting conversation here with Glassy. They're like trying to they instigate quite a lot. They're like guessing. I don't really know how to describe this type of interaction. I'm sure there's a way. I'm sure there's a perfect word. There's always a word. It's just I don't know what it is to like describe what this type of conversation is. Well, like the recipient is kind of unresponsive, but like you're kind of you're testing the reaction. You're being like, oh, you want to do this? Oh, no, you don't want to do it. It's kind of like when you like talk to when you're like talking to a dog. When you're doing that, you're like, even though the dog can't hear you, you're like testing that. Oh, you want a toy? No, you don't want the toy. You want the food? Oh, you want the food? Okay, you want the food. It's like that type of thing. But eventually, Glass ends up pushing away. It's like, oh, pushing away. Then that means that you think people are like me. I'm pushing you around. So you think that because you push me, so yeah. But then Glassy eventually takes that consideration and goes, I don't like getting pushed around. I'm gonna be for real. I mean, I'm cracked anyways, which fair enough. Pinky eventually has the broken eye because they got twisted by Hanger. Um, but eventually they end up going out, and we have ourselves the solution to Winner's problem. So uh, I said that they were gonna need to invent deodorant. No, apparently they need to invent perfume, which fair enough. Um, okay, because I thought that deodorant would have been a more functional thing, because perfume changes your smell. Deodorant doesn't necessarily change your smell directly, it just removes the other smell, which I think is more about what we should be doing, right? Because we want to remove the fume, don't necessarily need to replace the fume because it's still there, right? Kind of that jazz situation. But basically, PewDiePie was like, yo, let's make the ultimate perfume. That way it is the the best smelling thing in the world, and that should hopefully fight back against it, which is pretty interesting. I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, we do eventually see, but for the right now, they end up making that for like about 7 hours, the ultimate mix, while Boxbot is trying to find um uh, Adobe. They end up getting hit by a drawing made by Hanger. But hey, great art. Who drew that? No, who drew that? Who drew that art? Why are you goated? Who did that? I didn't see the credit. I'm sure it was credited, but who did that? That's the best art I think I've ever seen. That's so good. Um, but eventually that means that Boxbot's battery ends up getting knocked off until eventually Adobe finds them and knocks them back on here during the nighttime. They have ourselves a nighttime little challenge. Um, which is unfortunate. But yeah, Boswell had a challenge planned, but they can't do it in the dark. However, Adobe said, "Yo, I got a challenge, maybe," which they're trying to do for sure. Like they're getting more into the hosting role. I mean, Adobe was so awkward in episode one, but I feel like the comfort's there. You know, we're starting to chat to our host, right? And I feel like that chat is definitely helping out Adobe because like the thing about Adobe as a co-host is they've been scared of like screwing us. They've been scared of like shit. Don't do bad stuff, right? However, it's like it's only when you have a conversation with the host where you're like, "Yo, I mean, the fear of screwing up, it's there, but it stops like because when you know how the host is, you'll know like, okay, if I did do a mistake, it's not the end of the road, right? Where I said like, if Adobe made a major error with fish or whatever, it you know, it might have been done though, because I don't think Adobe spoke to fish really that much. So we didn't exactly know. We didn't have that knowledge yet about like Adobe and stuff. So we couldn't exactly sort it out, which yeah, but now especially with the conversation the other time with by the way, both contestants and the host, like Adobe has a pretty decent rapport with everybody. You know what, I like Adobe characters like Adobe. I don't vibe with Adobe. So you know what, let's go Adobe. Shout out to my Adobeers in the chat. But we also have a new lore. So battles ends up getting a complete redesign. And we need to have a lore reason why. So apparently, Army spams the revival button, which breaks the recovery center and eventually revives battles as a bed, a blue bed because bed wars. And they end up being like, "Yo, I mean, I'm gonna keep my name as battles, but like, I'm a bed now." Okay, I like that. So I'm not gonna lie, that is great design. I should love it. It's so good. I really enjoy that. Okay, no, yeah, that's really good. I really like how like it's like a standing up bed. So it ends up being kind of like a thicker design than usual. You know, like it feels like the distinction is like it doesn't feel like if you turn it on its side it's gonna be like a 2D, right? Like it proper feels like a more thicker like 3D asset, which is not this no it's not 3D, but like you know what I mean. It's like you can see the sides basically, which is nice. It's nice to see a bed character that's not necessarily just like fat, because I feel like this is a thing that we've done in a bunch of our shows where like we have a bed, but we lay it right? Either like we lay it down and then have the face on the side of the bed. So then it just makes an extremely like heavyweight character. But here we can have a bed character in a way where they can still move with a pretty solid like range of movement. They look pretty cool. They look pretty unique, and they're all very solid. So you know, I actually really enjoy this redesign, especially considering battles. I mean, they're just a random Minecraft skin, right? And they're trying to get this show into a little bit of more serious territories. Yeah, to this day, I'm still not really sure what the hell this intro is. Because, okay, the reason why I'm confused is because it looks like Boxhead makes Boxbot, which, I mean, makes sense. Like, they're all called Boxbot for Boxhead. But then they're off in their own house. Like, this is like a backstory intro, right? But then Adobe's there, which you for sure weren't there before, right? Because, like, Adobe. So, like, if I'm imagining that this was a backstory, it doesn't work though because Adobe's there and Adobe wasn't there. Adobe was hosting their own. They're from a different dimension, so theoretically they shouldn't be around by this time. So I don't think it's a backstory, and I don't know what it is. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. We have, of course, the intro, which remains roughly the same. Of course, Battles is updated with their new bed design, and we now have the elimination. Remember, two teams up for Elam. Only one of them end up. Only one of them ends up going home out of the two teams, and we end up discovering the bunker, which is just a general area where you can hang out, and there's a bunch of rooms and stuff. I'm gonna say I am getting teapot flashback. No, that I know. Okay, no, this is very deep. This is extremely teapot. The way that this like bunker is stylized is so teapot, where like we get like the side view, and the way that it works is the stairs are on the left and then the rooms are all laid out like so, right? And this there, yeah. I mean, the rooms themselves are gonna be different, so it's gonna be fine. But the actual way that this building is stylized, no, yeah, it's very cheap. I'm not gonna lie. But hopefully we'll be fine. And here we have our elimination area with Adobe. One of the things that I am enjoying, by the way, that I'm like seeing a little bit more being done in this episode. That's like I can't exactly. There was an example, but I can't currently think of it. But oh yeah, no. It was when Adobe. Wait. Yeah. It was earlier when Adobe was saying that like, oh, that's a mosquito. So then they go back and look at the mosquito. Visual gags. I feel like they've not really been happening that much in this show, which is unfortunate because it is a big component, right? It's a very difficult component to have because like it's kind of hard to imagine. Like you can't really like you can script it, but it's kind of weird. Like it's more up to the animation process, but then the animation process is very like methodical, right? Like do this, right? Where like I feel like we are doing a little bit more of like a backing guide, where like a character speaking. But just because a character is speaking doesn't mean that a character can be directly doing something else. Like a different non-speaking character can be doing something, right? Like the element of having things in the background move or whatever, I feel like it's very important little detail because it makes everything feel so much more alive. So even something as simple as Adobe facing backwards and looking at the screen and like being confused at the screen while Bossbot is talking, that's the type of like background like moment that it makes it feel like the show is real because the character doesn't have to just sit there every time that they're not speaking, right? Which is very nice. Anyways, who's eliminated? We have the eliminated contestants. They all get like a happy meal. But our eliminated contestant with 330 votes is Brady. I got it wrong. I thought it was going to be Window. I think I eventually narrowed it down to this final two. I think it was like this final two and then Diamond D also put in there. But 330 compared to 318. No, compared to 312, which is 18 vote different. Yeah, I mean, it was close. It switched quite a lot. I'm still pretty satisfied with my prediction. I think it makes sense to predict the Glasses going home. But, I mean, Brady going home also makes perfect sense. They nearly went home the other time, and they didn't exactly, they weren't too interesting in this episode. Although, of course, in the last chance, they did help their team, which is why I thought they might have been safer. But, yeah, there wasn't, like, there wasn't really any, like, magnet here for votes. Like, this was a relatively well split off voting sequence, which it's bad for a character like Brady in this case, which it ends up impacting them negatively, like quite negatively. So it's honestly it's unfortunate, but like rip, goodbye. You end up going, you end up saying your final messages, being all evil to Army, and saying, people, you can do this and stuff. Battles, it starts to question it, like, yo, what? And then, oh yeah, we have a little shot of a Windows 11, where like you see Glasses, Al, and Brady have their own folders. This is what we're waiting for. This is a mess waiting to happen. Oh no, they're files, bro. They're files on the computer. No, it's over. It's no. I mean, all it has to do is get corrupted and it's GG, right? I mean, but no, but they weren't sent to Boxball because I'm worried about Boxball. Okay, I think Boxball has one said that they didn't remember some past that they had or whatever, right? Like their past contestants or anything. So I'm like, if they don't remember that, then it's like that means that they can get their mind corrupted or whatever, and then that's worrying because if they can get their memory reset or whatever, this would be part of the memory. But we're not within Boxball. We're in the portal sort of outside of it. So maybe, but this is the portal. Where are we? Are we in the portal that can create anything? Because that looks like the area where you can create anything, but is that just a computer? Like, I don't know. But basically, I'm worried. If they're files, that means that whatever the files are being hosted on can get damaged and can potentially wipe it out, and then we got big problems. Okay, so I'm worried. Okay, but anyways, we have our challenge, which ends up being tag. It is tag. If you get tagged, you become a tagger, and then you end up doing it 30 minutes to tag. Anybody who's tagged, regardless of the amount, ends up being up for elimination, and everybody else, isn't. So that is an interesting little challenge. As you do with tag, personally, none of these shows ever set the boundaries for tag, right? Which technically means that the entire universe remains the spot where we can tag. So as it goes, my immediate idea is in tag, hiding I don't even think is a good idea. Just blitz it for 30 minutes. You're gonna run away far enough to where like it's not gonna be a problem because you're gonna be distracted and you're not gonna be seen. Even within 3 minutes, like you're not going to be the first target, and then you can just keep going, right? So, in my opinion, running away as quick as possible. Again, realistically, there's probably a boundary, but we don't get to hear it, so theoretically, you can just keep running. And with 3 minutes head start of a run, you're probably not getting caught, right? But yeah, everybody else goes eventually. Some people go in the bunker, some people go on top of the ship, the ship where they originally landed on. Some people end up also doing that. Diamond ends up completely kicking out Army. Battle starts to just like question Army, like, yo, I mean, you're kind of mean, but like, you're not like super mean. You're not like end of the world mean, right? But like, we end up starting to question that a little bit more thoroughly. It seemed like Battles has had. I think it might just be the design, but I feel like they've had a mild personality tweak as well. They seem to question things a bit more because Battles was like kind of an army style character, to be honest. Like they were way toned down. They were still like kind of army style, kind of not really caring too much, kind of trying to be cool, right? Kind of being mildly, kind of being a bit angry, a bit meaner, right? We even heard that from the others, right? And it's like, yeah, but in this episode we're way chiller, at least Battle specifically, right? Which is interesting. Then your mom gets tagged out first. Yeah, I think this is going on is that your mom just isn't voiced anymore by the mom. I think that's why the credits changed. Because I was thinking maybe originally the credits changed because we didn't want to get credited because like it's a real life person. But no, it's just a different voice. Um, Anyways, challenge starts. We know how many people at the start who didn't move for 3 minutes ends up doing that. We end up having some packs. I really like 7. You see, 7 is the type of silent contestant that is kind of interesting, right? Because Owl was kind of really not doing that much. But 7 is an interesting contestant because they have these direct abilities and interacting with limbs and stuff where, like, they run fast and they actively interact with people and stuff, right? So it just ended up overall a more interesting package than Owl was, right? So like that makes sense. Wait, yeah. So Yama ends up getting tagged first thanks to a rock thrown by Pinky, and Yama starts chasing Pinky, going like, "I'm gonna get you." So they're running away the entire time. Like that's the one chasing that we're doing. And then the other fellas end up going over to hide. Most people hide in the bunker to various degrees of success. Shout out to the incredible Pants and Hanger duo that manages to like they end up combine. Like wow, that's crazy. I mean, you should know this because they have limbs, right? But like, it's an excellent concept. Realistically, Adobe should have probably seen it. I mean, the limbs in this show, they are like relatively like small, so I mean, yeah, it's fair, but Hangers goes like, "Yup, we're not doing this." Your mom ends up missing every Wikipedia and eventually landing on 7. Fake Apple tries to run away from 7, but 7 is just significantly faster, so yeah. Then Glassy ends up kicking them out by actually speaking. We haven't heard this character speak in ages, but yeah, no, Glassy eventually just yeets them away, and they die, by the way, by getting crushed by a box. So then Battles just ends up going over to recover them. Fork in a Toaster and Robot Leo are just reviewing a movie. These two are like, nah, we got rid of box and now we're just doing. These two are best buds, bro. I like it. It's cool. Eventually, they end up activating super speed mode, which exists. Fork in a Toaster now ends up also having to run away. I'm gonna be honest. I wish that we used the fork in Fork in a Toaster a little bit more. Like, yeah, you can ask what do we do with it, but it'd be interesting. I feel like there should be a little bit more of a partnership between the two, right? Like we have one line per episode, or maybe Forky speaks up, but like even then, it's like no, it's more like one line every other episode. Like it's really not that much, which is it's unfortunate because I think it's a cool character trait. I enjoy if we got used more. But then we have our main debate with Army here. Battle's going, look, you aren't the nicest or whatever it is. Pants ends up rattling off a couple of things that our Army did, but again, the thing about it is that there's no context behind those things. Like, forced OJ to be servant. What does that mean? What did you ask him to do? What do you mean you forced them? At what cost? Did OJ actually, like, did you force OJ to be your servant, or did OJ want to be a servant? Right, like, we know these answers, but Battles doesn't know these answers, right, to any reasonable degree. So Army isn't gonna say it, but like because they don't want to say it, because they sound insane, right? If they ever say what they did, oh, I was just offering Ochi with a strategic partnership where they do whatever I want, and then I win and they get eliminated. It's like, you see, you sound insane. It's kind of like it's the same thing that Diamondy did. It's like when Diamondy tries to explain it, it's like, oh wait, I sound weird, right? When talking about like King Lava, right? Again, it's like if you do that, you'll say, oh shit, I am a bad person. So it's like if you say it, you'll realize. So the idea is to not say it, but it's like you gotta say it because otherwise we can't. We're not a team properly. We're not a team properly. We have to try to sort this out. And I really like, by the way, that when Battles gets tagged, they turn into like the red bed, the other bed wars color. That's fun. That's fun. That's fun. It was very fun. I really like that. That's really fun. But eventually, Winner ends up accidentally getting dunked into the ultra perfume, and then they're about to get tagged by Hanger. But Hanger's like, yo, you smell really weird, but you smell really good, so I will do that. And now I'm a bit worried. I kind of. This feels obvious. I feel like we're just gonna have it that everybody's now weirdly nice to Winner, and Winner is gonna be like, "Oh my god, everybody loves me," but then it's gonna be like fake enjoyment, and it's like, shit. Now I gotta separate my real friends from all my other friends, and then they're eventually gonna decide, "Oh no, I don't want to be like this forever," right? And then they're gonna take it out, and then they'll be like, "Oh, we're friends along the way," right? So I'm not too. Because I kind of hope that arc doesn't happen. I don't know why. Why do I hope that arc doesn't happen? You know why? It's because we're just making, in a way, we're making Winner again. Because remember, the thing about Winner is that they're reverse loser. The problem is that they reverse loser, but loser reverse themselves in the BFB's last Depot canon. So now Winner is just loser. But now, like, Winner reversing themselves goes back to what loser was, which goes back to being reverse loser. So now Winner is presumably probably going to become what loser was at the beginning of BFB, which was, oh, that character everybody randomly loves, and they don't really know why, but hey, it smells good. So this feels like a thing's going to happen. I hope that we have a little bit more creativity, because I don't know why I don't want to see that, but I kind of don't want to see that. It's just like it feels too mundane to just go do loser from BFB for a bit. It would be fine, but I don't know why I'm not into that idea. But eventually, we also discovered, oh yeah, people can freeze people. Why can you do that? When did that happen? You don't even know, but you can. Okay, Powerpuff Bow. I guess we don't really know what the PP stands for. It might stand for Powerpuff Bow. But I mean, they specifically don't want to be called that, so maybe not. Maybe they're like a Powerpuff Girl. Can Powerpuff Girls freeze people? I never watched the Powerpuff Girls. I'm gonna be honest. That is not one of the series that I ever watched. Is that a thing that they can do, or am I just chatting shit? Like, that could be a thing that they could do. I mean, it feels like a thing that a Powerpuff Girl could do, but yeah. Bro, I love this asset for battles so much. It's actually so good. They look so goofy when they're frozen. There's bumps up battles by like 400 tiers. Their asset looks so silly. But eventually, the Fork and the Toaster manages to run away before the timer ends, despite the fact that they crash into a tree. Fish Tank and also Robot Leo ends up being. Wait, no. Yeah, they end up being dead, and then they come back to make our contestants that we have to. I mean, to be fair, Adobe said that it wasn't theoretically going to be a Deathly Challenge. I mean, it wasn't. Like, it wasn't really a Deathly Challenge. It caused less death than the challenges that Boxbot made. Just saying. it was a surprisingly peaceful challenge. Right, because I mean, to be fair, it is because it's a challenge that actively encourages everyone being alive, right? Because you can't tag someone if they died, which means that like you actively want somebody to stay alive so that you can tag them, which means that murdering somebody, there's actually little value in doing that. So like from a tactical perspective, it makes sense. But yeah, in the same way that I think Forky should be more of a part of the toaster character, I really wish the fish was a little bit more of a character in the fish. And you know, like we did a pass on lore drop here as well, like oh the fishes, and we saw that the fish moved when you band on the glass. It's like I don't know. I wish it took we did a little bit more. I wish like the fish you could move it around a bit more. You know, like it moved around a bit more. Like it caused expression from time to time. What if it suggested something? You know, does it understand what we're doing? Like like does it just know? I don't know. Does it need to be fed? What do we need to do? Like it's interesting. No, like I don't know. Is it just me or do I find that fish interesting? I want to see it a bit more. But anyways, up for elimination: battles, fake apple, hanger, seven, and your mama. Oh, you know this is tough. This is a tough one. We have put up a very interesting set of characters. Wow, this is a good one. You know what? I think that this is a great set of characters to put up for elimination. Everybody here is like, okay, except battles. I think battles should be 100% safe, and I realistically want to say that seven should be 100% safe because they're kind of they did nice. They're a pretty nice guy. But like everybody, they're like it's pretty even. There's not a standout bad person. There's not a standout person to eliminate. Would Fake Apple get eliminated? I'm kind of feeling Fake Apple getting eliminated. Because Yomon did fail to tag Pinky, which is what they were trying to do. And are they mean for trying to tag Pinky? Yeah, no, yes, no. Okay, you know what? My gut tells me it's Fake Apple. The only reason why I would switch it is because I think that audience likes Fake Apple, right? Like as a character, I think that we like Fake Apple, which means that they might not get eliminated, right? Because they're fan favorite. However, I think in terms of my personal view of these characters, Fake Apple might be a little bit meaner, and they might be a little bit worse than the characters here. But I don't think that they're going to get eliminated. But I don't. But I think they're gonna get eliminated more than the rest of them. You know, it's kind of like when you divide and when everything gets like 30% and it's like that 31%. I'm gonna say Fake Apple. If I'm right, I'm gonna go crazy because that's a I think that's a bold one in my view of it. I think that's a bold prediction, but I'm predicting it. Let's go to episode 5 and the latest episode of MCS, which at this point is 3 weeks old. Oh my god, I am late to the party. Episode 5 of MCS, way to get corny. I have just watched episode 5 of MCS. We have reached we have reached the modern day, or well, the modern day of 3 weeks ago. And you know what? I think there's one word, okay? There's one word that defines this episode perfectly, okay? You want to hear that word? Yes! Let's fucking go. This episode's hype as shit. Let's go. This episode is tailor made to exactly what I've said like this entire time. This episode is epic. I was like, yo, they should use more of the fork in the fork and the toaster. I was like, yo, they should use more of the fish in the fish tank. Let's go. This we're making characters have interesting and each one having unique traits and interesting details, and they're interesting and they're cool, and it's just hype moments. Yes. But anyways, let's go from moment to moment here. Starting off here at the beginning, where everybody's just of course hanging out at the bunker now because that's your place to be, and we actually have people chatting to the winner's just having a great day, right? Everyone's like, oh my god, people actually like me now, it's crazy. Which it's interesting again. we don't actually lock in on that stuff too much, which is nice. Because I was worried that we were gonna do that, or I don't know why, because it feels too obvious that it's one of those arcs where it's like, oh, winner's gonna get so validated now to where they're eventually gonna be like, oh, this validation means nothing, and now they have to separate a real friend from a fake friend, and that's the arc that happens, and they get sad about how much they're like, right? And they just, I don't know why that gave me vibes of something that I didn't want to see. We're not doing that yet, but I am still feeling like that might happen. I don't know. That might be one of my my most like reasonless complaints, because like that arc is fine. Why do I not want it? I'm trying to figure it out. But like anyways, I don't know. But winner is getting like, they're all giddy and stuff, which is fun. And we also get to we also get to see PP Bo, which is like, hey, you could freeze them, maybe you could do some other things too, which is pretty interesting. Seven, for some reason, is pointing them. Oh wait, that's what they're doing. Oh, they're telling them to close their eyes. Wait. Oh, because that's what they do later in the fucking maze. Oh wait, what? Oh my god, what rat detail? Catching details in real time? Wait, why do you know? Seven. Okay, you've got the knowledge. Okay. Then Fishtank decided to get absolutely fit. You're like, yo, I'm fucking out of energy that I fucking died running away in tags. I'm gonna start fucking getting fit, doing shit. And dude, actually they get mega fit actually. Like they get so fit that they carry the challenge. So that's nice. That's fun. Yeah, we're getting a character moving away, and now we have Adobe. Adobe. Adobe can use Adobe now. This is the best day for unique character traits. Let's fucking go. It is interesting that Adobe couldn't use Adobe, because it was one of those things where it's like, it just feels like a thing that would happen, right? The program is capable of using the code. Boxbot is able to use whatever is in them. But like, and like Fish, is also has those powers, but Adobe doesn't have anything, even though they're literally Adobe. Yeah, Adobe has the tools of Adobe animate. Yeah. Dude, and then later on in the challenge, they're just playing with them the entire time, like forming balls and stuff. They're just like forming shapes and shit. They're pleased so easily. This episode is extremely cute. Okay, these characters. Oh my god! But then we end up having ourselves the intro. Still don't know what's up with this. I'm really trying to figure out if this is a thing that happened, but I can't decide. Hold on, who's in this background? Where are we? We must be in the ground. I think the land that we're actually in at that time is not great. No, but they're the ship. Oh wait, but no, wait. Who woke up Boxbot in BF4? No, nobody woke up Boxbot. And this guy just appeared. No, somebody did wake up Boxbot, right? They found him in the fucking whatever. Wait. Yes? No. Maybe. I don't remember how Boxbot got here. Ah. Okay. Never mind then. Okay, now they're entering, because I got confused because the grayscale land, it looks like the land, like the in-between dimension, but then they're waving goodbye. Oh, sorry. They're waving goodbye to the friends as they enter the ship with Adobe, and then they end up having the green land where we end up doing the intro. Okay, I mean, yeah. Okay, this makes sense. I'm understanding the intro now, because the intro felt like a backstory, but it's not really, because no, that's just be a boy. Okay. I'm getting, I'm catching your drift. By the way, there's a mild intro rework, I think. Very mild. Glasses has a new asset that we don't get to see, of course, so Glasses gets eliminated, but there's a new asset. It's very shaded. And we also have a section devoted to our underground cast of rejects. Which they're still gonna be relevant, presumably. I'm guessing that that we're not really seeing them yet, because they're gonna get their own episode. Like my presumption is, they're like not now, but probably like 8 or like episode 8 or whatever. Like so that type of era. We end up getting a proper episode where we get to see what the hell they've been up to. Like we're getting hints here and there, like, oh, this is happening, that is happening. There's a post-credit scene that's extremely interesting, and we'll get to that in due time. But like it's all interesting. But then we have a new method, by the way. So our new method, we end up having the fella Adobe just like moving the characters around when selected. This is so good. But we end up having A change of voting, new voting method. We end up having ourselves a voting method of like and dislike combined total, which means that you can vote to save and vote to eliminate at the same time. Do I like this voting system? Okay, so this voting system is one of those theoretically very, very, very good ones, right? Because they like it covers both bases, right? You have to vote to save and the vote to eliminate. Realistically, though, it's a bit of a dangerous system because hold on, wait, how are we voting? We're voting with Google Forms. Then we're probably fine, right? Because you have to save, because you have to choose, right? Because like in general, at least one of the problems like BFTA would face, for example, using this system, is that they use videos, right? And videos tend to get way more likes than dislikes. However, in this case, where we're doing forms, then I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I haven't seen too many shows like a bunch of shows do this, but I haven't seen like too many big profilers try the like and dislike combination. What was the last show? There was a show that I saw. I think WBS did this. Yeah, WBS did this, right? Yeah. But again, that only had one elimination, right? So it's kind of it's difficult for me to gauge this, yeah, about how much this would work, right? Because it's like I'm just worried about those lava style characters, right? Because like at the end of the day, they're those types of characters where they might just about get eliminated, but they will get saved to hell and back, right? So it's like it'd be very difficult for a character like that to get them, and I might just make them stronger, right? So I don't know. Fan favorites might have might become stronger, but we'll have to see. We just kind of don't know, you know. Um, but we end up having the eliminated contestant for this day being Hanger by 50 votes over Fake Apple. Yeah, I didn't see this one coming. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't see this one coming. I thought Hanger was cool, but I guess the reason would be the Hanger threw the challenge technically because they didn't tag winner, right? And because okay, I get it, winner smells good, but you can still tag them, you know. But we end up having Hanger get out, but presumably they threw the challenge. I disagree with the viewers on this one because yes, they threw the challenge, but it's one of those things where it's like getting. It wasn't a throw, you know, because they're still up for Elam. They already lost, right? They just didn't put somebody else to lose with them. You know, like it wasn't their duty. For example, like your mom when like hunting down for Pinky, has multiple times ran right past somebody and didn't to try to tag them, but like that's not a fail, that's just choosing who you're targeting, you know, like you don't have to necessarily tag everybody as a tagger, right? So I disagree with the voters on the reasoning here, but the presumed reasoning, because I mean I don't know what other reasoning you would have, like why I don't, maybe you would have another reason, but I can't currently imagine one. But Hanger eventually gets fucking slid away by Adobe. That's like, and then they end up getting eliminated. Okay, so I was wondering where they went to. No, they do actually get sucked up. I noticed they end up going in the freaking, what is it called? The wire. The antennae. So they are actually probably going within box spot. Okay, then no, they're definitely getting deleted. If this is not the plot line, I'm gonna be majorly shook. We're gonna have box spot have like a major, like what somebody has thought can. Oh my god, bro! I just imagine the concept of somebody installing WannaCry on Boxbot, and then everybody's Earth is corrupted unless we get the money. Oh my god, what? Anyway, that's so happening. And like these people are, the Boxbot is definitely having some malfunction at some point, and then these people's like existence are going to be put in jeopardy because their files on the computer. That's what I'm feeling. But it feels too, in a way, it feels too obvious for this show, because this show has a pretty, this so far doing pretty solid, you know, at subverting expectations, right? And, you know, doing stuff that isn't been done before. But like at the same time, even though I can predict this arc, it's not a bad one. I wouldn't mind it happening. You know, it'd be pretty intense, right? But anyways, final 14, 14. We can go into our challenge. It's a cornfield maze with 3 mini challenges scattered around. Complete them and then reach the end, and you will be safe. It is both. You can do I think anything alongside us, you just get to the challenges, complete the challenges, and do it. And we have a revival machine if you die. Boss was starting to go like, yo, I mean, I guess it's fine. So yeah, we have some fellas, dude. Adobe, not Adobe. I need to stop. I need to stop. Adobe, best character. Okay, but we gotta keep it moving. Then we have some fellas, they're turning. The signs point to roughly which direction we're going, because yeah, Fish Tank eventually literally carries everybody everywhere. And Fake Apple was like, "Yo, I'm gonna do a truce with Seven. Seven, I appreciate but our truce. So let's keep our truce, even though we won't quite switch teams." And Seven goes like, "Yeah, I like Seven. Seven's cool. Seven's cool in the same way I find Teardrop cool. It's really similar style of character, like incredibly similar. Like it's just character that doesn't speak, that speaks in unique facial interaction that nobody else ends up giving except them, because they have to properly interact in any way. Right. And they have quite a lot of strengths to them, which makes them solid teammates, even though they can't necessarily communicate properly. And sometimes they'll insist by doing motions and stuff, right? Even though unlike Teardrop, Seven also just doesn't have arms. But like, yeah, Seven's cool. Seven's cool in the same way Teardrop's cool. Teardrop's definitely, in my opinion, an S tier BFDI character, one of the best. So Seven also, sharing so much DNA, ends up being really similar as well. Then we end up having the saboteurs of PB Bow and Seven go together, and then the group of friendos with Winner and stuff, and them also combining. Robot Leo ends up agreeing to split up. Splitting up is the best decision, because at the end of the day, you can you can't tactically solve a maze like together. Like, yeah, splitting up is the best decision. It's only unfortunate because if somebody finds the exit, they need to it needs to be somebody smart so they can trace the exit back, right? But yeah, somebody's duty should probably just be to find the exit, right? To not necessarily, but it's just difficult because communication. Yeah, it's just difficult because communication, to be honest. But yeah, we end up having that. Robot Lee and them don't end up actually going, because for some reason Glassy really wants them. Hey, they're being more assertive, then they're going with Yo Mom instead. Freaking tongue out. And then we also end up having the interaction between Army and freaking, I've already forgot your name again. Battles? You're called Battles, right? Yeah, but the bed. Yeah, you're called Battles, I think. But yeah, no, yo, look, I think you can change. You did bad shit and stuff. Nobody's gonna tell me. So like, yo, just don't be bad, okay? Okay, I don't. You know what they say? Like, you can like a character for his personality, but if they also just look cool, then they end up being better. And I'm not even gonna lie, this redesign is amazing. I really like it. The face is the pillow, bro. Like, it's so good. The face is the pillow, and they act like adorable. The way, I don't know. That's adorable. The way that they're drawn, it looks adorable on them specifically. I think it's because the face is like so high up, like it's a different body shape than literally everybody else. So they end up looking really really cool. And they can still do their Minecraft shenanigans, even though probably not as much. They can still mine a bit, it's cool. I like it. It's another character that we're doing these characters justice, bro. We're doing these characters justice. We're improving. We're improving these characters. We're giving them cool shit. Like, this is cool. There's nothing to say. It's my cool show. It's living up to its name. It's a cool show. Anyway, challenge one ends up being cornhole, so some people get to it and do it with various degrees of success, depending on how good of thrower they are. We also end up having Fork and a Toaster, discussing how they think the dials have been interesting. So yeah, they've been testing out various dials to various degrees of success. Adobe they can form platform now with gradients or whatever. But yeah, then we have a punching challenge. Okay, who was the best puncher? It was a random character got 230, and I was like, whoa. I don't know. Who was it? Seven. Seven got, I think, 230 eventually later on in the episode on the punching thing. 230! Army got a 201, which makes sense. That character is intentionally extremely strong. And we're getting, and Seven got a 230. Somebody chill out. Seven! What? Oh my lordy, Roo. So that's a world record power. And Glassy randomly going in with the double kill and also ripping up the paper for some reason. But yeah, they end up doing yeah. Glassy ends up getting Glassy fueled with rage gets a 203, and Seven just chilling gets a 230. And Army got like a 130. Now we gotta Seven. Don't mess with Seven. Okay, don't mess with Seven. You are going to die. But yeah, then we have some other fellas. The way Winner just has a constant smile on their face. Now, see, it's these types of details, like the fact that Adobe is playing around in the background when like people are talking at the start, right? The fact that like Winner is now running with like faster steps now because they're happier, right? Even if they're not necessarily talking, right? It's like these are the background details. These are the background details that make a show feel out. This is what I was mentioning that we started to do in episode 4, and we're picking them up more and more in episode 5. Debatably, in my opinion, you can even do more. Like I don't think that there's even more potential in this category, but like it's good. Then I have the challenge apple bobbing, grab an apple with your mouth. I find it interesting how Winter's like, yo, me and water don't mix because they really don't want to lose the perfume. Yeah, this is gonna be a thing. This is gonna be a thing. Like Winter dying is a problem for them, right? Because like they really don't want to come back. Like they're gonna basically, yeah. What's probably gonna happen is they're probably just gonna become dependent on it, right? Because people don't seem like overly enamored by Winner, like I said in that random plotline that I don't like, the idea of. But I probably think the plotline that is going to happen is that we're going to end up having that people are okay with Winner. Now, some people might like Winner, right? But in general, like, people are just going to be more around Winner. You know, it doesn't seem like a fanboy type thing where it's going to be, oh my god, not going to be like loser BFB, right? Levels of fame because of smelling good, right? So then doing that, but then they're going to become dependent. So they're probably dying in some challenges, some random way. And then they're going to come back without it. And everybody's starting to start hating them. And then they're going to feel really bad. They're going to need to start chasing it. They're going to need to start looking for it. It's like, where the hell did you put it? And all that jazz. And then it's going to be that type of arc, or like becoming dependent on it. And then we're going to need to try to solve a way to make it portable or any of that stuff. Like, it's going to be interesting. But, yeah. Battles in Army. Yeah, they both end up dying. Then your mom and Forky and a Toaster try. It doesn't go great, but yet again we use Forky. Dude, I thought that this was already enough. I was like, yo, Toaster being like, yo, Forky throw, and I was immediately like, yes, this is already pretty cool. but then I was not ready. I was not ready for the future, for what the future entailed for the Toaster and Forky class, for Forky and a Toaster. Then we end up having the thing, like, Seven just looks mildly annoyed. Yo, do that, and then they end up freaking flying. You can fly. People can fly. They shoot a laser and everything. They now know how to freeze, know how to shoot a laser. Sure, okay. I know that a Powerpuff Girl can fly, right? Is that what we're doing? I really think that. Hold on, give me a Google search. Powerpuff Girls abilities. What can you do? List of superpowers used by the Powerpuff Girls wiki. Superhuman strength, superhuman speed, superhuman durability, superhuman stamina, energy trail, fight, heat vision, ability to breathe and survive in space, energy projection, super sense, night vision, tornado generation, fire generation, x-ray vision, invulnerability, immunity to extreme cold and heat, supersonic screams, waves and bursts, and sonic booms and shockwaves. Whoo, you are powerful if that's true. If those are your powers, then you are powerful. Okay, presumably we're not doing all of that, but I do like the idea that maybe you just are a Powerpuff Girl in disguise. But I mean, hey, so hold on. So they could freeze people. Well, that's not one of the powers, is it? Is it? No, because they got flight, energy protection, yes. No. No, they have fire generation. They don't have ice generation. Okay, well then maybe this theory might be officially wrong. This theory might be officially wrong because they can't freeze people. Okay, well then never mind. Never mind. This is incorrect. Incorrect theory just dropped. All right. Incorrect theory just dropped. But it would have been cool though. Imagine, imagine. It would have been cool. Uh, but anyways, yeah. So them being able to fly, but they can't. They don't know how to fly sideways. So you just need 7 to like hold their hold on to 7 right as they walk. By the way, how's 7 able to walk with one leg? I thought that was like that's like difficult to do, right? Surely. But yeah, Diamond D manages to pick up the apple. Then Glassy and Robot Leo end up doing that. Robot Leo gets hit by an apple. That Glassy goes, okay, you didn't mean to do that. They're like annoyed at it, but yeah, that's interesting. Oh my god, Adobe just freaking playing with the star. Like, wow. Adobe is the best character ever invented in media. Now we have improved Adobe from okay to very, 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 very cool. This is fire, but yeah. One thing you're discovering for me, allow me a character that just like it makes you smile when you look at them. You know, I like that character, right? Because it's like it's cool, it's fun, and they can do fun and unique things, right? I like those characters at a glance. You know, even though of course more complex characters are like objectively better. I'm so it's an obvious. We can have cool characters, okay? But then we end up having some fellas. The fish tank ends up getting I think a 130 on the punch test. Hey, that's power. It's power. I'm not gonna lie. Fish tank. I look how much time passed since the last episode. I don't think we have an exact amount of time per since. No, cause we don't know what's the time frame between MCS episodes, right? Because of course it was 2025, but we did mention in 2023 that it was 2022, right? Back in episode like 2 or 3. But I don't know. I mean, you could like calculate how long it had been between the start of MCS and when that date was said to see how long has passed between episodes. Like that's a math that you probably are capable of doing, and then you can sort of guess, okay, average time between episodes would be this, and then you can do that. That's not a math I can do right now because I don't have that data, but I'm sure somebody could do that and they could guess the range of the episode, right? But essentially, because I'm just saying, because like Fish Tank has got fucking buff, you know. Fish Tank, you don't mess with Fish Tank, you know. Like this guy, you don't mess with him. So like, all right, then we end up having so fella, your mom ends up coming in until eventually battles at the last second. Army throws them into the water, and then ends up taking it. Battle just used the pillow. We've made peak the character design. I'm telling you, we made peak character design. We end up doing it. Okay, then yeah, some the first 2 people get out. The Bed Warriors are the first one saved. Okay, they probably have to lose at some point. I understand that they're okay. To be fair, the challenges have been very physical, which is probably why they've been very safe. You know, we've not yet had a hold on. Okay, wait, what are these challenges been? So they've been like tag, grow a plant, but then it's like mostly physical to get up there. Up in that way. How do I already not remember the challenges? I am elite tiers of them. I am. You see what I mean? My memory is actually made out of like my brain is just like it's an abyss. That's the best way that I could define what it is. Oh, it's the bouncy castle. I mean that's physical, right? Because you gotta like jump. Um, yeah, and then the first challenge was the staring castle. But they're all in general relatively physical things. So we've not had a challenge that's like draw or like an art basically. We've not had a challenge that's an art. But I think as soon as we have a challenge that's that category, which we should have soon, by the way, I mean, have an artsy challenge for us. I mean, we saw that some people are pretty good. Dude, did you see Hanger's droid? Hanger would have smashed it. I guess it's too late for an art challenge. Never mind, scrap it. But like we we should do that. I guess that's probably when they'll lose. When we have an RC challenge, because otherwise, I don't know what they would lose. But what do we have? We have a final battle here as the last few people remaining. Oh yeah, the fish catching the apple because we can't get it. Ba ba da ba 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 da ba ba. This is fire. This is my celebratory song for when something happens and it's celebratory. But yeah, eventually the last three people remaining is Seven, who remember sped round it back to do the challenge, and now is running back on. And then Fork and the Toaster ends up finding it last second, and then they're doing an epic battle. You can make it. Seven is trying to make it. Okay, Seven's speed feels a little bit mildly convenientized sometimes because it's like, okay, I mean, you can run super speed until it's a race, and now you can't run super speed anymore. Like that's felt weird. But it's like, okay, I understand that you're probably tired. I'm guessing that's what happens. So like, oh, it's tired super speed, like regular running speed that was going on. But like, okay, sure, I can accept it in this case. There was another case like a couple of episodes ago where Seven was just running at the same speed. Oh yeah, like when we were doing the run after, for the in episode 3, right? The planting one, where Seven somehow just couldn't blitz past everyone. They weren't even tired of it. That's bullshit. They should have just done that. They should have just walked away with it, They were running like mildly faster, but they were supposed to run way faster. That was all bullshit. But like in this case, it's fine because, okay, you can make the excuse, oh, they're tired. And then Toaster freaking grabs the fork and yeets it. Yeeted the fork. And we get to see Fork speak. They actually talk, they actually do shit, they're actually a character, not just a fork. It is one of the top things that I have ever seen. But anyway, they still lose, by the way, which I originally thought was because technically you have to touch the ground, so even though Fork got thrown, they don't touch the ground before Seven touches the ground, even though they technically get through the maze faster, so they don't get through. No, apparently the reason, because you see, I think a technicality like that. They think of the technicality, oh, Fork not in Toaster, that means Fork out of Toaster, therefore different character, which I mean, interesting, but does that? I mean, that's the type of technicality that kind of opens up a little bit of a can of worms. Like, oh, we're playing tag. Oh, let me take the fork out. Okay, you tag me. No, you didn't tag me. You didn't tag Fork in a toaster. You just tagged the Fork out of a toaster. It's like that type of technicality where it's like, yeah, no, if you're using that like this, you kind of have to use that in the future as well, and you can't use that in the future as well because it's bullshit and breaks a lot of challenges. So that's the type of technicality where it's like, I don't know, I would have used a different technicality that only applies to this challenge, because like this is the type of technicality that you kind of should apply to the next challenge, and I will call you out on it next time. I'm just saying, as soon as I see an opportunity, I will be doing that because I'm just pedantic like that. But Toaster is so sad. They're so sad, man. And yeah, Forky is just like, yo, this sucks, bro. But hey, and then we have our elimination. But first, do I talk about the elimination? No, let's talk about the other thing first. Let's talk about the post credits. So yeah, Toaster's so sad, and then we get this Forky. Ren's cheap, bro. Did you see the bunker? That's free. You can just go there. But yes, apparently Ren's cheap in the Toaster. And that's the reason. Oh, okay. Interesting, I guess. Like, wait, yeah, no, that's just the reason. Like, rent's cheap. Oh, I mean, yes, presumably, but like, now you're in a show. Like, you can leave from time to time. Like, it's fine. Like, it's okay. Like, you can live a life. I mean, I'll be interested if they keep doing that. If they're gonna just be separated now, because like, what are they gonna do? It's what should they do? Like, I don't know what they're gonna do, but what should they do? Should they keep them separated, or should Forky return to the Toaster? Great question. Wow. Uh, there's pros and cons. Because like having that united character is interesting, Having this split is probably gonna make it kind of awkward, because what would you need to do, especially if they get eliminated? But then what you would need to what you would have to switch it just into two characters, or just a duo. So then you could just I think what I would do, I would keep the Forky in the toaster, as like a character. Mostly, I just like eventually, I just allow them to get popped out more. I just give Toaster more scenes where they think about Forky, right? When it's needed, right? Even if it's for like brainstorming, but like on average, I'd keep the Forky in the Toaster rather than having them be a completely separate character, right? Then we have those two fellas from the bushes analyzing the show, because yeah, they'll vaporizers or something. This guy definitely watched BF Boy, but that makes sense. The other fella leaves, and then we're analyzing. Then, of who is this man? It's like a snowball. Is this the character that showed up in the other episode? Remember the episode where we were like, "Who are you?" No, they look different because that character had like part of the face, but it wasn't like a round character, right? It was a different character. Hold on, wait, who was it? Um, Yeah, no, 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 no. Oh no, wait, you were green. Never mind. You're a way different character. So you're like a snowball that's sleeping. The TV, a different show appears, and then boom, red everywhere. Freaking EAS alarm. EAS alarm dropped. EAS object show alarm. 1 billion views. EAS alarm in object show land. Um. Uh. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I'm interested. Obviously, I'm interested. That's a way to set something. Do I want to predict what it is? Bro, the TV did that. I mean, no, that really sounds like an EAS alarm. Like it sounds like an EAS alarm, like to the level where it's probably intentional. Um, but it's an alarm for what? I mean, you're in a. I mean, nah, because like it wouldn't make sense for it to be any show. It turns red. Nobody was corrupting it though, right? Because nobody's doing that. Because the other fellows, they just want to analyze the show. The show's fine. Fish's show is might be over or not. We don't know. Depends on the dates exactly. It's probably not over by this time. Would it be that? Would it be their fault? But it leave for 7 months, right? Like, that's what Fish does eventually in Be a Boy. So there's no way that show's done. No, Be a Boy. Sorry, there's no way that show's done. So then, what could it be? It's got to just be. It's an alarm for something. It's got to be an alarm for something. I don't know what happens, but there's got to be an alarm for something. My prediction is that, because I can't really imagine something else for it to be. It just sounds so much like an EAS alarm. I've generally never seen it something sound more like an EAS alarm and not be one than that if it's not one. But yeah, and alarms are usually like a bunch of them are tests. No, on TV they don't test EAS alarms on TV, right? Do they? No, they don't do that. They test like sirens from time to time, like the freaking sirens every like couple of years to see if it's like functional. They do that here. Do they do that over? They do that everywhere. This is a complete side tangent. Do they do that everywhere? Because here, what they do is they have every like warning siren, and like every couple of years, they end up like at least one. No, I don't remember if it's once or like every other year. They end up like doing a test date on them to see if it all works. Right? I think they do that, right? In like the U.S. But they do that here at the very least. But they don't do that on TV. They don't test the TV EAS alarms. I don't. So no, an alarm must actually be going off or something. I'm chatting too much about something that's probably not true. It's probably just freaking an ad for this Catchup because the screen's red. Let's talk about the elimination. This one's tough again. Oh my god. You see, because we're making characters interesting now. We're making characters interesting now. So remember, it's a vote to eliminate and a vote to save at the same time, which means that we do have to consider who's going to be a fan and who's going to be a not fan. I think that Fork and the Toaster did throw the challenge in the sense that they lost for their team. However, they were smart. They were disadvantaged going up against Seven, who's just a faster character by natural. It's not their fault they died either. They just got freaking hit unexpectedly and landed in the water, which is unfortunate. So it's not their fault for anything, and they're apologetic. They gotta be safe, right? Even though they screwed up, I mean, they gotta be safe. Glassy's just interesting. They're standing up for themselves. They're more interesting. The people are gonna want to say that. And I think Robot Leo probably survives by doing that. And I think Robot Leo probably survived. Yeah, probably survived by just the interest of like being around, being a robot. We're starting to get those interactions with Glassy. We're also starting to more properly like get into the thick of it. About what the dials mean, which is interesting. I want to keep this character on the show because of that. And then there's your mom, which I think probably it's time to go, in my opinion, because it's not looking too interesting on this aspect, right? Because it's like, with the novelty factor of when they debuted, right, of being the mother, and it's voiced by the actual mother, which is not anymore even, right? The novelty factor has run itself thin, right? And then you have just the raw concept, this character kind of being the mom in general of everybody, right? Which is still an interesting concept, but it's currently feeling pretty underdeveloped. Like, there's this thing with Pinky, but it just kind of like there's not too much more. Like, it doesn't feel like something's exactly gonna happen. Like, what the most that can happen is Pinky gets caught, and then it's like, you need to apologize, young lady, and then it's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, my bad, and they end up being rebels again, right? It just doesn't feel like there's exactly an arc going on, so I think Killmonger gets eliminated before that, but that's probably the most, that's a high level analysis reason of the character getting out. So it's good, and yeah, this episode is great. I'm gonna say it. This episode is great. I love that. This is exactly what this is exactly what I was wanting from a show like this, right? Like, we have interesting character concepts that they're animated well, they look good. We have an interesting challenge that's like, it's not boring. Every character has to do stuff, activity. We're at a high level enough where we can actually animate, segment from segment. We can have a place we can understand, right? There's not too many characters. There's not a mess. There's like this solid combination with everybody. Like, the characters, again, they're all earning themselves interesting details, right? To like, from these past few episodes, like, we're starting to figure out some of these characters, like battles, becoming the bed, right, and having the interesting pillow activity, forking a toaster, now having the fork be more real, Adobe having the Adobe tools, the Adobe tool set, Glassy now being more independent, being able to speak out of their craft, and they've got nothing to lose, Robot Leo with the dials, right, PP Bo with the whole flying charades, right, like Fish Tank now being capable of running and having the fish. Like, you see, these characters are earning traits, and they're becoming interesting, and it's making these eliminations now more complicated. And even a character like your mom, it's interesting still, right? I mean, I think that it's just worn thin because they did that a while ago, right? The concept of a character being a global mom to everybody, it's also an interesting detail as well. Right, Seven with the super speed. Like, we just have characters, each one of them with interesting traits to them. Maybe the only ones that don't are Fake Apple and Pinky, and they get away with it just for being like OGs. They get the OG, but buy one get one free pass at Taco Bell. That's not a thing. I don't even need a Taco Bell. But like, it's interesting, and we're doing that, and like, yeah. And I don't want to, like, when I'm being overly negative, I want to explain it. When I'm being overly positive, I also want to explain it. So, like, this is why I think that this episode does an amazing job, and it's because of that we are giving these characters interesting traits that make them more fun to watch. And then the arcs, they all come as a bonus, right? Because if you just enjoy watching a character do things, then the emotional side, it's a bonus to all of that, right? But like, it's still, it's nice to just have characters that can do it, because at the end of the day, this show, it's currently not striking me as extremely serious, like, at the end of the day, Never Boy also wasn't an extremely serious show, even though it had some serious arcs in it. This show also doesn't strike me as extremely serious. Like, this show's fun more than it is serious, so far. We never know, but it's like, it's more fun. And we're adding fun elements to the characters and fun elements to it. This show is going in the exact right direction, right? And even though I don't know what's going to happen in the next episode, we're probably going to start getting some characters getting eliminated, and then some characters are going to start getting sadder, and then we're going to start getting into the more emotional arcs, because we're getting into the mid-season, right? Like, at the beginning, we need to establish every character, right? That 1 to 6 range, we establish every character. That's what we're doing currently right now. We're establishing every character, what they can do. It's all epic. Then the mid-season is when we start getting arcs, right? Like, the big villains, the big enemies, the big heroes, like, not necessarily here, it's a competition show, but like, who's gonna be nice, who's gonna be mean, who's gonna have growth arcs, who's gonna start being a villain, right? All that stuff. We need to we start forming that out as we start going into from the middle game approaching late game, right? So that's the arc that we're probably going to start entering, and we're going to need to start doing that, because while this is fun, it can't stay like this forever, because at a certain point it's going to get a little bit more stale, like, oh hey, the characters are doing a fun thing. But when the characters do a fun thing 4 times, like, okay, yeah, but I mean, this show could also risk a little bit more on the narrative side, right? So currently it's doing nice because we need to set up the characters before we start the narrative side. However, it's soon about time to start the narrative side a little bit more. Okay. But this show knows. We know. Okay. We know. Boy was pretty good. I trust it. Okay. I'm gonna be honest. I have faith. I have faith currently. Good luck. I think I've chatted. Wow. How long have I chatted? Oh my god, I did it. This time I specifically didn't take track of the. Oh my god, I gotta stop talking. I am a yapper 4000. That's all that I think I can say about MCS right now. I'm very happy about this episode. Let's go. Let's do an outro. And that is all for today's episode of Object Catchup. Yes, we have done it. The road to MCS has finally finished after having to watch 5 seasons of Battle of Idiots. We have successfully approached and are now caught up with LeoFriends content. And what do we need to do? Okay, so I keep mentioning OTA. Why do I keep mentioning OTA? I don't need to watch that. Well, it's a request. So basically, at some point, I want to get to all requests, right? So OTA is a thing that I've been requested to watch by somebody, which means that I could get to it at some point. I am specifically making it. It's gonna be really late. Like I'm gonna watch it in quite a while, but like I will do that at some point because like it's a request. However, I'm gonna wait for it for a bit because at the end of the day, with the fact that I've taken a look at so much Battle of Idiots content, I've taken a look at like binomial epilogue as well in the middle. I've definitively taken a look at so much LeoFriends content, and we're finally caught up mostly that like we're fine to take a little bit of a pause here, right? It was an enjoyable, it's nice to have caught up with one of those like big creators that like they proper built a proper like world. They built a universe with their show, right? Which is nice. Considering so many shows that I look at, even the big ones, right? They're still new and up and coming. They have like 2, 3, 4 episodes, right? It's interesting to see a show that has had time to develop its universe as a whole. So I was very happy to do this. It was an interesting journey, but the road to MCS has officially ended, and we can now, of course, work our way in real time at MCS rather than having to wait 3 weeks to get to the latest video. But let's go. We have done it. I never give up. Remember the tagline at the beginning. We will get to it all. We are all caught up for BOI, Battle of Idiots, MCS, all of the above. We're all caught up. Goodbye.